Evening all.
Hello everyone. How are you all? So same questions as normal. Can you hear us okay?
Like we normally do.
Oh, we're getting better now with our sounds, aren't we?
Yeah.
Famous last words. Yeah, I've got quite a few in chat already. So I'm just seeing already with questions in here. So we just run through our agenda, what we're going to go through today. So we're just going to do a summary of what was said in the coroner's inquest, and then I've got a few questions written down that I don't think were covered properly in the inquest or at all in the inquest, and then I think we'll go through some questions from you guys as well, because we can fact check things against what was said. How does that sound?
At the end, we're going to go through PA's statement and LC's statement at the end as well.
Yes, we've got those ready, haven't we, to go through as well. So
I have been doing some summary stuff, so I'm hoping it's going to be all right because it's been a bit of a rush today. Do you want to read the disclaimer or do you want me to do it today?
Let me just see if I can get it up on here. Just bear with me a sec.
It's on our screen, if you could see it.
If you've got it on you, hang on a second. Get it on my screen. Oh yeah, I've got it. So we're a topical discussion channel. Any discussions are made for entertainment purposes only. The opinions expressed by the host and the guests are based on personal experience and any research that they've conducted. However, they are merely personal opinions and should be treated as such. Theories and content are not designed to offend or incite hate towards anyone. And we encourage our community to remain respectful and to be kind to all other members and guests. So we hope you enjoy our channel. If you'd like to like and subscribe to our channel, it would help us a lot. And please feel free to comment, and you know the rest of the jizz. And then you've also got as well our email address. So if you want to talk to us privately, it's truefinders983@gmail.com. So, and then we were also on Facebook and Twitter as well. So there we go. I think we also need to put the possible trigger warning up as well if you've got that handy, because that's.
Can I just say thank you to Funky and New Brunswick? They're our members. We've got members.
Yay! As you may have noticed, we have got a member platform going now, which is where people can join our channel, and we will be doing some members only content. I think we're aiming for about one a week, hopefully, if that's okay.
Obviously permitting with obviously with the kids and stuff.
Exactly, yeah.
But we will keep you updated.
Yeah. We're just the main thing is it will keep you updated on any changes. It's also gives us a free forum to discuss things where we've been having some issues, as you probably know already. We just want to have somewhere a little bit more private, I suppose, to chat to people and to actually engage and chat a little bit more as well. So that's the idea, and we've made it cost as little as possible. We've just gone on to the cheapest tier we could find. So we don't want. It's not about money. It's just about the privacy side of things and the security. Because off YouTube, off the streets of YouTube, things have been a little bit crazy, and when it happens, it just takes a lot of time for us to sort out, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I also had to still do 3 different. So I've just done bronze, silver, and gold.
Yeah. but bronze is good, guys. You don't have to go
yeah. I had to add it on. It wouldn't let me just put one up. So, but yeah.
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
but thank you for absolutely. That's great that people are joining up. I think we've had a few people. I've even joined up myself because I've got a different YouTube account, haven't I? So, but if anyone's got any questions about that as well, let us know.
Just going to share.
So yeah, we've got the trigger warning up because we're going to go over quite a lot of the inquest, and it might be triggering for people to hear about some of the injuries to Nikki, etc. If so, just maybe sort of give us 5 minutes and go away, give us 5 minutes and come back, or if you're listening, you can jump ahead.
Oh, hold on. Someone's asked the link. Brum, give me 2 minutes and I'll do it. I will get it up for you.
So who have we got on here? I know we've got Funky, and then we've got Lisa Payne, New Brunswick, as well as our new member, Funky's new Jackie Taylor. There's a few more. Brum Vixen, big ups there. Hey, you're right. And then Yvonne as well. Hi. Just bear me a second. I've got to mute myself. My kids having an argument here. Hang on.
This is what happens, isn't it?
Oh, 2 minutes. 2 minutes.
So yeah, what I've done is we've just gone through what we've transcribed and brought up the main points that we've come up with. I've just managed to get down to the witness statements. So we'll just bring the points up and try and highlight what we find is a bit of a discrepancy. So I know Jenny's got some questions written down. Hi, 14 as well. Thank you, guys. Your support really does mean a lot to us. So I will try and put up on the screen as well as we go through, so you can read it as well and get some notes as well from it. But if there is anything that you want us to look at that we haven't covered, please let us know while we're in the chat. I think Jenny's having a bit of trouble.
Oh my gosh, teenagers. Oh, yeah. It's gone quiet, so I'll come back on. They've been well warned now. You try and do anything that involves having a phone call or going live or anything like that. Yeah, they start.
I was really
well.
So yeah,
I'm going to start screaming and shouting when they go on the phone to their friends and embarrass them.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Do you want to read the first page and then I'll read the second one?
Yep. Just bear with me a second. I need to just pull that back up again. That's on. Sorry, because that's just thrown me. That has the audacity of it all. It's cheek.
Thank you, Jackie.
So it's page 1.
Page 3.
3. Right. So we've got identification by dental records. So this is when Nikki was found, and the pathologist confirms that it was an adult body, 164 centimeters, slim build, 49 kilograms, rigor, so stiffening of the muscles had passed on. And then there was a minimal hypostatus, dependent pooling of blood, and then there's the stains at back of body, which we talked about last time. So that's basically decomposition on her back, which is from her being in the water for so long. And then on external examination, her face was covered in mud, particularly her nose and upper lip. There was green discoloration on both of her cheeks, slippage and peeling of the skin on the central forehead. Her teeth were in good condition. Her hair was coated in mud. There was mud staining just under the surface of her chin. There was early marbling effect on her left cheek, and there was a greenish discoloration of the front of her neck and the mid frontal chest. Again, there was green discoloration to the lower parts of the chest, abdomen, and folds of the groin. There was early marbling effect within the groin area, and marbling effect to the upper right chest, skin peeling and slippage to the back of body, neck, and grey, earlyish green discoloration. And then the skin was peeling and slipping on both buttocks. Her left leg had a purple L-shaped bruise on the back of the thigh, and that measured 16 by 2 centimeters, so that's quite big. We're talking about this. Decomposition change, a red faint bruise on the shin, which was 3 by 1 centimeters. Grass vegetation at the top of the foot, which was water effects. It's a washerwoman syndrome effect. And on her right leg, there was a purple bruise to the front of her knee, which was 4 by 3 centimeters. A faint bruise to the other shin, which was 2 by 1 centimeter. Early decomposition changes, water effects to foot. Her left arm had decomposition changes, water effects to hands. Right arm, purple bruise, front and back of arm, 14 by 14 centimeters. That's huge, isn't it? And that's a big bruise on a little girl, little lady. And water effects to hands. Eyes, so there was contrast type of eyes, negative results to no petechial hemorrhage, partial hemorrhage are tiny dot shaped hemorrhages that are in the red. They cause a redness in the eye, and they're a classic sign of asphyxiation. And there was no trauma to neck. There was no head fracture, no head bleeding. That was
due to the post-mortem.
That was due to post-mortem. There was no form of hemorrhages, no death of tissues. There was also no skeletal issues. So are you able to read the next part?
Yeah.
Again, I'm going to have to go on to mute. I'm so sorry. So
the throat, there was fragments of dirt or mud. There was no sign of injury to the throat. There was flecks of dirt below the vocal cords, and the main bronchi both contained watery fluids. And the lungs were hypovolemia, enlarged in volume. When they touched, you could feel crepitations, that's trapped water. Lungs met in the midline, retained shape when they were removed from the wall cavity, and they was normal in weight. The abdominal cavity was normal. It contained 100 milliliters of watery fluid. The intestines were normal. The CT scan that was done, pleural cavities contained fluids. Right side was 150 mils and the left side was 50 milliliters. I don't know if you remember from the last slide, we showed you the pictures. We can go through that again at the end. The heart, liver, kidneys, and brain were all normal. Toxicology, alcohol, there was 19 milligrams per 100 milliliters. This was due to the bacteria. It was not alcohol that you would drink. Paracetamol, 10.2 milligrams. Propanolol, 0.2 milligrams. And all of these were within the therapeutic range. So the conclusions from Alison Armour was there was no natural diseases that contributed to Nikki's death. The bruising did not contribute to Nikki's death. Nikki was not harmed on the 27th of January. No evidence of third-party involvement, and Nikki died as a result of drowning.
Hello, I'm
Hello.
back. Sorry about that again. Oh, so I think is that the full?
That's the full.
What's it called now? I forgot the word for it. Pathologist.
Yeah, pathologist
report, wasn't it? Oh, I'm having one of them days today, I tell you. Oh, do you know on a Sunday, is anyone else in the same in there elsewhere? There's always arguments. You've got the rush on to get the kids' uniforms washed and dried and ready and everything, and it's just crazy. I don't know about anyone else.
Yeah. Do you want to do the questions at the end of this? Or...
I could go through the questions because I've written through some questions because we're going to talk about do a reminder of what was said in the inquest, but there's also some very interesting questions as to what wasn't included in the inquest, which you may or may not agree with. So we'll go through those, and we may add to the list as well.
Yeah. So what I'll do is I'll put the trigger warning back up for this.
Yeah.
All right.
So.
Mark said the bruising is not the cause of death, but could be an attack prior to drowning. Exactly. Especially the bruising on the right top of her arm that was 14 by 14 centimeters. The fact that it went from front to back.
I forgot the pictures of the bruises that we reconstructed on our friends.
Let me have a look if I've got them on here.
What we did, guys, was and just in case you didn't see it, we drew the bruise in to scale on a person, one of our friends that's about the same height and build as Nikki, just so that you can see the size of the bruise in reality. We use makeup to do it. We haven't harmed anyone's. It just gives you an idea, really, of the actual size in proportion to a person of Nikki's shape and size.
Michelle.
Do you know what? Now that my kids have nipped out, right, and the dogs have started. Welcome to the madhouse. It is crazy.
While you're reading through the questions, I'm just going to try and find these photos.
Sure, I'll go through the questions now then, and yeah, just bear with me one moment. I just need to find them again. Right, questions. So, as I explained already, the during the inquest, that there were multiple witnesses who were called, but there were people that weren't called. So the first person I've got on my list, which I'm confused why they weren't called, was Anne-Marie Fletcher, because on the dates that Nikki went missing, she spoke to Paul. She was a person that ID'd Willow. She also spoke to the school. She handled Nikki's phone at the bench area. So I would have thought her witness was pretty much key, and she'd be in a position to give a thorough reasoning as to what happened that day compared to other people that they did call. The second person on my list is Jason Rothwell. He was the person that discovered Nikki's body in the wire weeks after she went missing, and he found her only a mile downstream. Jason's a psychic, and he claims that he had a call in to go to that area on that date, and he found her. The third, and by far not least important, is Peter Falding. As we all know, he searched the area vigorously with his team. He has sonar images and videos. He assisted the police with the searches while Nikki was still missing in the water. And he wasn't called as a witness, despite he expected to. And he has records that he sent to the coroner ahead of the inquest, yet he wasn't called. The next part is the police and forensics that attended Nikki's recovery. There is absolutely nobody from the recovery of Nikki when she was found that made a statement in the inquest. Not one person. Not from the police, not from forensics, nobody. And then that brings me down to the next section is the forensic tests. What did the forensics team actually do? Did they look at diatoms in the water and compare them to the liquid in Nikki's lungs when she was found and the river water? What tests were performed? Was there any signs of SA and tests in terms of forensics done on Nikki? They could have also looked at the causing of the bruising and the large bruising around the thigh. We've just gone through that section. And least but absolutely really important, cadaver dogs. They're not mentioned at all either. Were they used and how and where? I just want to just go and see if there was any. I think that was the end of it. Yeah. Have any of you guys any other questions as well that you think you would have liked to have heard discussed in the coroner's inquest?
I have found the images. I've just sent them over, so Joe will put them up in a sec.
So, but there's quite a lot. There's a lot more when I think about it. There is more questions. I'm just trying to summarize really the ones that are standing out most in my mind are those ones, but I have got other things as well. But cadaver dogs. I've heard that they did use cadaver dogs, but if Nikki was actually in that area of the river near the bench for a long time, surely to God they would have picked up on that.
Yeah, no, exactly. I know they had the dogs in the first couple of days, but then they kind of stopped putting them in, didn't they?
Yeah, this is it. They seemed to search for a few days and then stop, because we could tell from Curtis Media when he was giving us the film footage that there was police on foot walking the area, but there wasn't, from what we could see from that alone, which was my only indication of what was actually happening in the area, was the videos that Curtis was producing. They didn't appear to be searching. And usually with dogs, they can bring them out a few times at different times while a person, is missing, and they might not be able to pick up something one day, but they may the next or further on down the river. I don't understand how they were used, but nobody actually discussed this at all. I've not seen any reference to it. Yeah. So I'm just having a look in chat. Am I missing? Has anyone heard anything about the cadaver? A cadaver dog was sent on scene in the first week, because you've seen images of them in a boat. and the SAR team giving testimony. Yeah, there wasn't any testimonies really from the search and rescue, was there either?
No. So this image that's up now, this is the bruise that was on the top of the arm, which 14 by 14 centimeters.
So that is
It's
a
huge.
big bruise, isn't it?
Again, just to say, this was makeup. No one was hurt.
Yeah. And obviously, bruising can only occur on a person while they're still alive, because it's basically bleeding under the skin, and you have to have a circulation to have a bruise. If you were to receive a blow after you've passed, you won't bruise.
This is the knee.
Wow.
Top of the knee.
And then
again, that's that 14 by 14.
That's a huge one, isn't it? Wow.
The other knee.
Is that the other knee?
See, I can't believe that throughout the whole inquest, when these were brought up, this is the L-shaped bruise.
So that L-shape, was that the one that was wrapping round her arm?
No, this is on the leg.
Oh no, so yeah. Beg your pardon, yeah. On the thigh, wasn't it?
Yeah. So I can't believe through that inquest at the size of those bruises, they never got questioned.
Yeah, because you'd want some explanation as to why she got the bruises, because obviously the bruising occurs pre-mortem, as in before the person dies. So you would want to know what happened to cause such vigorous bruising in many, many different, basically all over her body and a face.
Yeah. When they say like when you research about bruising to the body, like you said, like you don't bruise once you've died. So she died, as they're saying, within 10 seconds. That's quick.
That's very quick, isn't it? And you're not going to have any circulation after you pass. So it's got to be these bruises have got to have happened prior, and there's no explanation as to why.
Yeah, Jay's just come up with a good one. Wonder if they could tell how old the bruises were.
You can tell the age of a bruise usually by the colour that it is in a living person, at least. Just bear with me one moment. I'm going to have to mute you because my daughter's shouting at me.
Yeah, and when we go through the bruise, you've got purple bruise on front of the knee. That L-shaped bruise was on the back of the thigh. The upper arm was a purple bruise. So they were quite dark in colour, I would say. Yeah, purple. There was a red faint bruise on the shin. All the rest were purple. It was just that one that was there's a faint red bruise on the shin. So they were quite dark bruises. 14, the bruises were relevant. How do you know that? Because they never mentioned them exactly. If they looked into it more, it would have answered a lot more questions, but it was just kind of like, oh, okay, well, the bruises did not contribute to Nikki's death. No, okay, moved on. L-shaped bruise, what object would cause that? One of those walking sticks. Yeah. One of the coroners or experts said bruising was consistent with a fall. Not to that extreme, eh? A crossbow, yeah. Chris, you got that right. Yeah. You know, to fall on a ground or something like that, it wouldn't cause the bruises to that extreme. Not all over her body. Yvonne, in her experience, black bruises are a day or so after the injury. What comments that, Chris? Alfie, you can drown from waterboarding. Yeah, you can. So I'm trying to keep up the chat. So that is the pathologist. I see that bruise on the top of her arm. You know, could that be consistent of being grabbed? And the L-shaped bruise on the back of her thigh, someone could have, you know, whacked her with something to make her go down. You know, all these questions that they should be answered or asked any witness with walking sticks. I can see where you're all going with that. Funky, if you fell in a die, your blood stops, so bruising would not form from falling. Yeah, Danvers, all new bruising. But yeah, that's crazy. We'll get back to that in a sec. Right, we'll go through the rest of this. Why is that not coming up? Can you stop sharing for a sec? My screen's gone blank. Oh, it's up. Okay. So the River Wire. Nikki is believed to have entered the water at the bench. The water was 4.6 metres on the 27th of January. Water level is believed to be 30 to 50 centimetres higher than when PC Tracker had done his video on the 4th of April. The temperature was 4 degrees, but as I was going through it, it was also mentioned that it was 3.6 degrees. So they couldn't even get the temperature consistent. You would have had to travel 40 metres from the bench where it got shallow enough to put your feet down.
Hello.
Hiya. They believe, or he believes, that Nikki floated for 2 to 3 minutes before sinking. She was moving at walking pace. The weir is 300 metres from the bench. There was those footprints found on the opposite side of the river, not far from that island.
Oh yeah, the sandy footprints as well.
Yeah. Normal clothing would get waterlogged, unlike a dry suit. But enough water to still push someone with waterlogged clothing over the weir. I found that a bit of a, you know, well, you're saying that her clothes would be waterlogged so she wouldn't be able to climb out, but there was still enough water to go over the weir to push her over with those clothes, dragging her down. Cold water shock. So cold water shock causes you to inhale 1 to 3 litres of water. It causes uncontrollable hyperventilation. The blood will protect all your vital organs, so the skin temperature will decrease rapidly upon entry of water. Everyday clothing will not slow the cold water shock process. A lethal dose of water in the lungs is 2 litres. You may slow the process of cold water shock with clothing. Again, another contradicting statement. Confusion in the first 15 to 30 seconds upon entering the water. Drowning is a form of suffocation. When oxygen decreases to 50%, you lose consciousness. For every 2 litres of water in the lung, you lose 21% of lung volume. All this depends on if you're trying to swim, because obviously if you're trying to swim, you're using more oxygen. Heart rate goes excessively high. Nikki would have passed away in less than 10 seconds. Surge in heart rate will cause damage to the heart. In their opinion, the speed that Nikki fell down the steep slope and entered deep water, she would have had a gasp response under the water. That initiated the drowning process. It's also normal for drowning victims to swallow water, and they believe that Nikki was not in a position to assist herself, as was probably unconscious.
Can I just step in here now as well, because I've been researching cold water shock myself, because I'm really seeing if it is viable for you to die within a matter of seconds from cold water shock. And I came across a study, and I've got the picture of that. The guys, they're looking at basically people who have fallen into like water, which is surrounded by snow, a bit like the Titanic survivors. And obviously yes, there are some deaths, some people die, but not everyone passes due to it. So I'm just going to talk you through what I found.
Not let me do it.
What's it not letting you do?
Oh, I thought I muted myself then. Sorry, guys. Slow mo.
Is it not letting you put it up? Sorry, I'm just finding the thing. Oh, well, I'll just talk you through. I think I might have the website up actually. Yeah, I've got it there. Yeah. So basically, if you could get there's a picture of the guys, who are saving a person's life, and they're dressed in, I think it looks like dry suits, and their point is how to bring a cold water drowning victim back to life. So it says that basically, although you might expect a person to pass, new research shows that cold water drowning victims can be brought back to life as long as, get this, 2 hours after the drown. If the right steps are taken. So that means even if the heart has stopped beating and victims' brains aren't getting enough oxygen to stay alive, once the body detects impending cold water immersion, it attempts to thaw off the cold and preserve the body flow to the brain and the internal organs. So the heart rate slows down. Decreasing oxygen demand, and the capillaries in the hands and feet begin to tighten, and that squeezes blood to the core body from the unnecessary organs and over to the core organs, which are the brain and the heart, where it's most needed. And that response to cold water gives the victims an equivalent of a second life. If rescuers know how to treat them, research shows that the key is to call the emergency services, then immediately start CPR without trying to warm the body up. And then once the victim is in hospital, doctors will then warm the body up and restore normal blood flow and they can bring back the body from, near death to life again. So it's the doctor that's talking about this is a Dr. Robert Helm from the New Hampshire cardiac surgeons, and he speaks of a 3-year-old girl who was resuscitated after nearly 50 minutes, and it's not just young children who get a second chance in cold water drownings, Helm says. A 32-year-old woman who was not resuscitated until nearly 80 minutes after her drowning. And she was brought back to life again as well. So there's a lot more studies to go. Obviously, some of the people do have life-changing events, which can be brain damage through the lack of oxygen to the brain. But there are some people who can get through this and they don't have any brain damage and they go on to lead a normal life afterwards. So I got this information from the Swims Foundation. So I think this kind of reflects a little bit what we're told about how Nikki passed and how a person would die in a matter of seconds. And I just wonder what would have happened if somebody had looked in the water when Nikki was missing, if somebody had actually just had the gumption to look in the water and see if she could be seen, and they could have maybe arranged for her to be, dragged out. So I don't know what your guys' thoughts on this are, but I was a little bit, and this is just one of many, many things that I've come across. I was trained as a lifeguard a long, long time ago, but I do know that when a person does inhale water, and we're talking about usually, in my case, water which is got chlorine in it, but it certainly doesn't mean a person's going to die. Not from the training that I've received over the years. It's very, very possible for a person to, have the right treatment. Basically, the resuscitation side of things, keep the heart going. But this study is specifically looking at cold water and these people who have actually survived. So I'm not sure what your thoughts are there. Have we got that picture that I sent Joe? Michelle?
Which one?
The one, there's a picture of the guys and they're like in wearing orange and they're going in the water.
The screen.
Hmm?
It was up on the screen. I just checked.
Oh, it was. It's already up.
Sorry. I've been reading from me website. Sorry.
No, it's already been up.
Yeah. So it just goes to show, doesn't it? So it's like, has the coroner's inquest been a little bit kind of guided as to this is what PC Thackeray thinks it's cold water shock? That's what he's stipulated, and then they've gone on to bring in some experts in cold water shock to talk about it. Now, I don't want to call these guys liars, but what I'd say is that what they're saying is debatable, and there are no facts at all as to that. That's actually factually what happened to Nikki. This is so triggering. I hate talking like this, but nobody knows what happened to Nikki. Nobody was out. There's no eyewitnesses. Nobody looked in the river. If somebody looked in the river and seen her, they might have been able to drag her out. If I was there and somebody was able to assist me, I would have been able to get her out of the water, and I would have been able to do my best to resuscitate her. It just takes a little bit of training, knowing how to do simple CPR, and you can save a life if you get that person out. But these people found a dog and a phone. Not one of the witnesses mentioned looking at the river. Not one of them. You know, that's right, isn't it? Not one of them mentioned, oh, I looked in the river and I couldn't see anyone in the river. That came into nobody's mouth at all in the whole inquest, which I find it isn't logical. Because that's my mind would be the first place that I would look if I came across a dog, and in that situation I'd be looking at the river. I'd be like, where's the owner? Is she in the river? I go and have a look.
Yeah.
You know, have a look in the river, maybe go to a place that's got a better vantage point to go and see what overall area of it. So yeah. And then we've obviously got the Titanic survivors as well. There was multiple of them that went in the water, and some of them were in the water for, you know, like some maybe 5-10 minutes, some of them up to half an hour, they report. And they got taken on board the boats, which had maybe some blankets and people's coats at best, and they lived to tell the tale afterwards. So it's a very big assumption to say it was cold water shock. Is that if anyone's been to the beach and you do sort of you know, you may be sort of paddling and then a big wave comes and hits you and it's freezing, you know, and you have a shock, don't you? And you do sort of gasp a bit, don't you? But it happens all the time. You know, people that do water sports as well, they, you know, I'm sure many of them have got tales to tell where they you know, make the kayak you know, got into difficulty and they've managed to survive it. It happens a lot. But sorry, where were you when you're on the presentation, Michelle?
So we're at the movement in the body of water.
That's fine. Do you want to read that part, or shall I?
It's the last one, so you can do it if you want, and then it's the after that it's the right. Hold on, let me just share it.
Movements of the human body in water.
Yeah.
So yeah, so this is what the lady I can't remember the lady's name now. That she had the double barrel name.
Lorna Dennison Wilkins.
Say it again, sorry.
Lorna Dennison Wilkins.
That's the one, yeah. So Vicky's clothing might have added some buoyancy initially. Once some air bubbles escaped, she would have sunk from the surface. And 44% of people, it's entirely unintended. So that means that they fall into the water, as in they don't go into the water intentionally. Like, for instance, going for a swim or doing a water sport. As it's researched, an object it tends to bounce off and flow in a straight line. Oh, this is the water, as in how it flows in the river. So the water, when it's going round the weaves and turns of a river, it'll tend to bounce off certain parts depending on the flow, and you get areas of deposition such as sand in some parts, and then where the water bounces off one area, then it'll take it kind of goes on a trajectory off that bounce, and kind of tries to stay in a straight line as much as it can do, and this causes up washed up areas in the shallower and slower water. In the middle of the water flow, there's an area called the laminar flow, and that's the speediest part of the water. So the laminar flow tends to work its way generally through the narrowest part of the river, where it narrows, and then it basically causes the water to speed up. And it's fastest on a bend and the outside of a bend. And it's almost impossible to swim against the currents and find a safe place. Speaking as from my lifeguard training, I know that we were always advised, to look at the flow of the river and obviously take into consideration you've got your top current and then you've got an undercurrent, and you can't tell by looking in the water if there is an undercurrent. Sometimes they suggested sort of throwing a stone into the water to see if it sort of veered left or right, because that's an indication that there is an undercurrent potentially. We were always told as well, in a swimming pool you'd go in, if you're out in a wild water sea area, for instance, you always going into the water to save somebody is a last resort. You try and throw something first and then you'd go in, but your biggest threat is the tide and the way the water goes, the current, if you get carried off by the current. But if that does happen, we're told to just relax and go with the current, because it usually brings you out in an area where it eventually calms down a bit, and you can then look for safety, and you might be able to swim against it. But that's just from my own experience, my own training that I've had. But I just emphasize to everyone, avoid going in the water unless you with a number of people, and you definitely get that person on the phone to call for help. And if there's a number of you there, you can maybe do things like tie your coats together to create a rope kind of thing. So so whoever goes in can maybe tie that round to the belt or something, because you need to keep that person safe as well. But going in is always the last resort.
But it's quite shocking that even over at the whole walk that we've done up the wire, there's no life buoys at all there. Didn't see one.
Even a year after what's happened, there still isn't anything there, is there?
No, nothing at all.
Nothing. It's absolutely, I find that surprising, really, that they haven't put because bearing in mind it's a public park area, really, and it's been, there's a public right of way for walkers to go, and then the fields are a park area, and it's used by families who are taking the dogs for a walk. I can imagine people going to have a game of footy out there as well, and just to have the precautionary ring and rope. It's not, what's that when it comes to the cost of a life?
Exactly.
So yeah, that is
more signs up about your dog being off the lead and how it can harm livestock, but nothing, no life-saving equipment there, which I think is shocking, especially when they're trying to say that this river is really dangerous.
Yeah, I think there's one sign saying that be cautious around the river, which has been up since before Nikki went missing, but they haven't got. If that's been identified as a risk, why not just shove a little bit of life-saving equipment there as well?
No, exactly.
It really is. It's outrageous, really, when you think about it. And certainly, if you consider a child, what would you do if your child were to fall in? It's more most likely a child that would fall in who's unfamiliar with the risks and the water, and I suppose you've got more chance of a parent going in after a child, or maybe going in after the dog as well. That often happens, but you just think that they would. I don't consider it a dangerous river.
No.
Not from what I've seen. I've been there when it's been deeper, and yeah, I wouldn't want to fall in there unaided. But I think if you do what they say in terms of, it's always recommended you lay on your back, keep calm, lay on your back, get over the shock of falling in, fill your lungs with water, and naturally when you're doing it anyway, your body will start flowing with the water, and you take your clothes off as well. They're not going to help you. Take, if you've got any like big jackets on, take them off, and get yourself out the water. Just find a tree branch or something to get hold of.
Yeah, Impact has put that they slipped. They slipped, and their reaction was to grab onto stuff and took rocks down with them, so they could see you could see the disturbance on the bank.
Yeah. And just shout and scream as well. There's a lot for being said for that. So just shouting help. If you shout help, people that is going to alert people as to why is somebody shouting help in a little area like St. Michael's. I think the noise would travel over. There's houses just across the river and stuff, isn't there?
Yeah. Miss Hera, I will have a look at that. I haven't had a chance to look at that yet, but I will look into that and see what we could see on that as well.
Yeah, I nearly drowned one time when I was in a kayak because the kids and me it turned over, and I didn't have the spray sheet on, so I was panicking a bit, and I forgot that I had to just roll. You do like a roll out of the canoe under them circumstances. Well, I forgot. I was panicking, and I was holding my breath, and I just remember relaxing. I remember just looking at the water and the pebbles at the bottom of the water, and I just thought, don't panic. And then as soon as I thought that, my legs just automatically rolled out the canoe and I was out. But I remember, I think I was coughing a bit when I came up to the surface, but it scared me. I had to come away for the day. That was the end of me for the day. But it can happen really easily. But it's always just good to think about these things and what you would do before they happen. What would you do if you saw somebody drowning in the water? And you've got to think of this in terms of being alone and in company. Would you go in after them, or would you?
What would you do? I would.
Yeah.
I
would. Knowing me, I do. I couldn't not do anything, and but the most important thing really would be to call 999 and alert them that there's just say to the operator, and even when they go through to what service, just say, look, somebody's drowning. I haven't got time to speak to you. You sort it out. Just throw the phone down, and that they can use GPS to find out where your phone is. You don't need to speak to that person. If you've got to get in, do that, but get that call made, and then maybe sort of see what you can do. See if there's a tree branch that you can throw in. There might be a bit discarded rope around. That just be really. But try if you can get into the water safely. If there's an area, if you're familiar with the area of water, and there's a shallow area, and you can carefully get in, try it. But if it's a fast flowing river, I wouldn't. We're told that all you're doing if you try to get into certain situations is you just, rather than one life being at risk, you're putting two lives at risk.
Yeah, you've got to assess the situation, haven't you?
Yeah, you've got to assess it, and also if the person's panicking as well. If I went up to a person and they were panicking, I might have to push them away and swim away from them, and they'll be wondering why she's doing that. But it's because if they're panicking, they're going to pull me under the water as well. And I've got to save my own life as well, haven't I? But if they like relax, do as I tell them, I'd get them on their back and I put their head on my shoulder, and I'd swim on my back, on my side, and there's a stroke that you can do. It's a side stroke, and my stroke would be keeping their heads out the water and my own head out the water, and I'd slowly but surely get them to safety. But if a person's panicking, I can't do that, and I literally have to. We've been part of the training is they show you attacks. If somebody's holding grip in your hands, for instance, how to escape from that. Because the last thing that they need is a person clinging on to you, because that's just going to put your life in danger as well.
No, exactly.
So
right, shall we move on to the witnesses?
Yeah, the witnesses now.
So, Nikki
Donna was saying about the heart rate level, confidence 3 until 1150. I know, it's crazy, isn't it?
No, still can't get my head around that at the moment. So Nikki seemed herself in the morning. She was at St Michael's School at 8:40. She was talking to other parents and making plans like play dates, and she was going to go to the spa. She had a night out booked with her friends on the Saturday. Richard Fife saw the man in black. He joined the field via allotment lane. He remembers seeing Nikki and Willow in the distance. Richard was by the red brick building and Nikki was on the opposite side of the lower field. This was between 9:10 and 9:20 a.m. So this is one of the discrepancies that I've got. So if he was in the field, so this is in the lower field, would you be able to get a map up? We're going to put a map up for this, okay? Just stop sharing this. We're going to try and have a live map up of this so we can put people in places.
Yeah. So we try and use like a different colour pin for each person or something, perhaps.
Yeah. So Richard Fife was by the red brick building in the lower field. Nikki was the opposite side of the lower field.
So does that put her by Rowan Water's fence?
Just before Rowan Water. Okay, so this is the lower field. And this was between, he said, from like the way, from the timing of his walks that he does, he says this is between 9:10 and 9:20. Okay. So they believe that Nikki entered the water at around 9:18, 9:22. So I could assume that how Nikki does her walk, she still would have had to go all the way up the upper field, round, and then come back down to the bench, because this is their normal walk. So how did she get to that bench before, in that time, for when they reckon she fell into the water? And then I just want to find out what time. And Claire said she left the field. She was picked up on CCTV at 9:18. So she would have been in the field exactly the same time as Richard Fife. Doesn't make sense to me.
They don't claim they saw each other, do they?
No.
They don't, neither of them said in the witness testimony that they saw each other, although their statements put them in the similar area at the same time.
Yeah, I'm quite, when I was transcribing it, I was literally really confused about that. I was like, well, Claire Chesham says she got picked up on. Let me just have a look what time she says she got picked up on CCTV.
Claire Chesham says she's seen Penny, though, doesn't she?
Yeah, so she saw Penny in the caravan park at 9:18. She got seen on CCTV at 9:15, close to 18 minutes past.
So you're just talking like 2 minutes difference, aren't you? And how long is that?
Yeah, so yeah, 9:18. Claire got picked up on CCTV. And Nikki had also received a WhatsApp message at 9:18 from Louise. So, yeah, I was a bit confused by that when he said in his statement that this was between 9:10 and 9:20. And
oh, sorry. Sorry, I'll let you know. I was just going to say, I'd assume if Nikki had received WhatsApp from a sister that she would stop and look at her phone and maybe be typing back. That might cause her to sort of, pause her walk for a moment, maybe.
Yeah. I just still can't work out how Nikki got round that field and back down on the bench and fell in the river in such a short time from when Richard Fife said he was in the field. Let me read through Claire Chesham's.
Yeah, right. Have a look at Claire's because it's
So Claire saw Nikki at the school at 8:40, and then she was in the field the same time as Nikki was walking Willow. Nikki didn't have a ball, and she heard Willow barking in the vegetation by Rowan Water. She saw Penny in the caravan park at 9:18. Got seen on CCTV at 9:15, close to 18 minutes past. It's hard to get Claire's timeline because there wasn't really much timing on hers. So she did say what time she got into the field. Yeah, she only said that she was at the caravan park at 9:18.
So she doesn't. Does she say what time she set off at?
No, she just says she was at the school. She was literally at the school talking to her friends, and Nikki had already left and walked down past the Iron Bridge.
The school CCTV as well. Again, there's no reference to anything found on the school CCTV at the inquest, is there?
Oh, hold on. So Richard Fife said that he could see Nikki with her phone out in front of her, looking at the screen, which he's seen her do on previous occasions. She was too far away to hear or see if she was talking. He continued to the very first gate at the end of Allotment Lane, so that must be the one right outside Penny's place.
Yeah.
And he passed a female with dog and said a brief hi. I've seen this lady on most days, and she seems to just stand there talking to people and didn't appear to go into the field. So that was Christine Bowman.
Yeah.
So that's another one that didn't get invited to the inquest.
No, she didn't go either, did
But
she?
if she just walks up and down Allotment Lane and the first part of the river walk, she would have seen everyone that morning.
Yeah. Yeah, she should have seen Nikki making her way there, shouldn't she?
Yeah. There's literally no mention of him seeing Claire in the field at all. So I find that very strange. The fact that he mentioned Christine Bowman, who was walking up and down Allotment Lane, and mentioned that she didn't appear to go into the field, but there's no mention of Claire. And he would have either passed Claire on the wooded area, or she would have been in the field at the same time.
Yeah. This is something that's really confused me all the way through, is the fact that the witnesses didn't seem to see each other, so they were sort of all in the same area, like literally like minutes apart. So you just must have, you don't get from A to B without being in the middle, and you must see each other at some stage.
So Rebecca Smith says in her statement that Mr. Fife leaves the field at approximately 8:52. We've calculated this back from the next sighting on CCTV, where we find him shortly. So she's saying that he's left the field at 8:52, but he's saying he was still in there at 9:10, 9:20. That's like half an hour difference.
Yeah. And when you look at St. Michael's, it's small, isn't it? I suppose, though, if part of his walk maybe constitutes going into other rural areas, maybe it could last for that long. But I think it would take you about 20 minutes maximum to walk from one end of St. Michael's to the other, from what I've seen of it.
Yeah, the way he talks in his statement, he's always doing this walk around the same time. He knows roughly how long it takes him.
Yeah.
Because he says based on the length.
Fit person as well, you don't you just assume walking pace would be quick, and
but it says based on the length of my walk, I believe I would have seen her sometime between 9:10 and 9:20. So he's based that on his walk, so he knows roughly how long it takes him.
Yeah. And him doing that walk frequently and seeing Nikki frequently as well when he's doing it.
Yeah. So that was them. There's that discrepancy there that I can't quite work out at the moment.
Yeah.
So Penny left the caravan park at 9:30. She walked via the Hughes, which is past the weir. Arrives at the bench at 9:45. Ties her dog up at the stile. Climbs over the stile. Then she sees Willow running between the bench and the water's edge. Sees the mobile phone on the bench. It's still connected to a Teams call. Sees the harness on a slope. Ties Willow up at the bench. Climbs back over the stile to collect her dog. Climbs back over the stile again to go past Willow, through the kissing gate and through the wooded area to go home. She rings Moyfetz, Anne-Marie and Susan. See that again. I know we touched up on this last time. But
yeah, can I ask another question as well? Right, yeah. Everyone. Right. Say you were in that situation where you were in Penny's shoes. What would you do? You had an appointment to go to, which was an audiology appointment with hearing test. Now, so I suppose she might have been waiting a little bit to get the appointment, so it might have been a little bit important that she got there. But is it that important that you would leave a situation like that? Would you go or would you stay? I'm interested I know what I would do, but I'm just interested to hear what other people would do. So it's happening right on the doorstep of your company. What would you do? You know, there's somebody.
I know the first thing I would have done. I would have looked in the bloody river.
Yeah, yeah. I think with all importances and everything, I don't think I would move out the area. I don't think I could. Because me being me, I have to know everyone's okay and everything.
Yes,
I'm just interested to like what would other people do if you've got an appointment? Would you, say a hospital or the GP appointment or something? Would you carry on going, or? But even that, they're more important than an audiology test, isn't it?
That's the same, 14. That's the same as the harness. When Roger arrived at the bench, the harness was also on the bench with the phone. But then you've got Penny saying that she didn't pick the harness up. So how did the harness get onto the bench with the phone?
Yeah. And then Lisa Payne says that so she would stay and be looking out for the owner of the dog. Because Penny would probably known whose dog it was, because Nikki was there every single day, near enough, wasn't she? We know from a Strava report, we know that she went there almost every day and walked the same route, which wasn't along the edge of the river. She tended to walk, past the gate, by Rowan Waters, the fence by going Rowan Waters that way, and then she'd do a double lap of the upper field, and then she'd make her way back again. We know that from the Strava, and that's been looked at by quite a few different people. And sorry, who was it? MBACT volunteer. If she had an appointment, where would she be down in the area taking a walk? Yeah, right. I generally won't take my dogs for a walk if I've got an appointment due very soon. I'll tend to wait until I've had my appointment and then take the dogs out later.
Yeah, and then there's that other statement that was made. Everyone knows everyone around there. So surely they would have recognised the dog.
Because I used to live in a village similar size to St. Michael's, and you get to know people. I might not know their name, but you definitely know who they're friends with and the name of the person they're friends with, and if you see them generally, a couple of times a week, say, you get chatting to them, that you'd usually know where they would live as well. All the names of the kids.
Yes, Donna. One was on the dog tag as well. Exactly. And do you remember Penny said also that she didn't know who Keith Barlow was?
Yeah. She said she didn't know him. She said, did she say she'd seen him before but didn't know who he was?
When asked whether she knew who he was, she said no, but I believe he lives in Rowan Water, so I've been told. That was what she said.
Yeah. It's strange though, because it's such a close-knit place, isn't it? You'd expect people to know, and I've lived in close-knit places as well. And everyone knows everyone, and you do where people live, where what street they live on or what cul-de-sac they live on. You do understand, you learn if you've lived there for a little while, you get the gist. And I know people's dogs' names, especially, I might not know the owner's name, but I know the name of their dog.
Penny was heard shouting Tess at 9:23. Presumably this started the dog walk.
That's what was said. Or was that on the CCTV? But we don't know. Has she been somewhere before then and just gone into the area where she knew CCTV was covering? She could have been somewhere before 9:23.
And CCTV picked up, they picked up Penny leaving with her dog at 9:23. So literally, like.
But she was seen though tending to her chickens before 9:23, wasn't she?
Yeah, but she's saying she didn't leave till 9:30. That's what I'm saying. Like, that was 10 minutes before.
Yeah.
And no one picked her up on it.
So yeah, they're saying like 9:23 she left for CCTV, and her house, you could hop, skip, and a jump, and you're by the bench from her house. So she said that she walked through Hughes, which is still a hop, skip, and a jump, and maybe another hop, skip, and a jump, and then you threw Hughes in at the bench. It's not far at all. It's not far. Hughes is a kind of riverbank type field, isn't it? Yeah. Right next, and then it's got a stile, and then you climb over the stile and you're by the bench.
Yeah. Sky, yeah. Claire said that she saw Penny potter around in her shed. That was at 9:18. Yeah. Sarah, yeah, agree. Would have to cancel stay.
And we don't know.
The same as us, they would stay. See you for a chat. Yeah, very, very contradicting. How her statement changed was a lot. And the coroner would pull everyone else up on their statement, say, right, I've got your statement here. Let me remind you, you said this, you said that. But he never done that with Penny. And that's what I don't get. I really don't get that. So do you want to move on and read Roger?
Do you want to, let me just find him first. Sorry. I did get him out a minute ago. Is that on the slide?
Yeah, slide 15.
Slide 15, yeah. So Roger leaves home at 9:45 and he walks up Garstang Road, or lane, or whatever they want to call it, and joins the river path from the north side. This takes 5 minutes. Susan rings Roger at 10:12, and the screen on Nikki's phone is blank. He recognises Paul and Willow from the screensaver. And then Susan leaves home at 10:15 and she finds a friend, Norma, who says she'll come with her. So the pair of them walk and arrive at the bench at 10:30. And then Susan puts Willow's harness on, but she doesn't realise that while she's attaching the harness, there's a lead attached already. And then they get halfway up Allotment Lane, and then that's when they bump into Anne-Marie, who'd been called by Penny. Penny had called Anne-Marie over to deal with the situation. And the phone was ringing, but nobody answered it. Again, why? What? You're in this situation where there's a dog, there's a phone, the phone's ringing. You can answer a phone. You don't have to unlock a phone to answer it. You just press the green button and it answers, doesn't it? Yep. And I think every single phone I've had, it does anyway.
Yeah.
Is that the same on all phones? I haven't got an Apple phone. That's the only one I haven't had. And can you answer a phone without unlocking it?
You don't have to unlock them to answer it. It just comes up. you swipe normally to answer on an iPhone.
Yeah, you swipe. Yeah, you have to swipe up on mine on the green, and then it answers it, and then you just speak to the person. And that would have been Paul, I assume, trying to get hold of Nikki.
3 times that phone rung, and they didn't answer it.
And he tried to call via WhatsApp as well, didn't he?
Yep. Lisa's got a good point. If the phone was blank, how could there be a wallpaper on it?
Ah, yeah. That's another anomaly, that is, isn't it? Good. Yeah, nice one, Lisa. Yeah. It just doesn't blooming tally up, really.
No.
I know people are elderly and they might not understand phones, but I'm sure in this day and age that they both got mobile phones, and I'm sure they know how to answer a phone when it rings.
Of course they do, because Susan rung Roger on his mobile phone.
Exactly. And then so he knew how to answer a phone, and she knew obviously how to ring his mobile phone. So they know that's pretty much one of the basic things, isn't it? How to answer a phone. And the call usually comes up, doesn't it? Like regardless of what you've got running on in the background, it'll come to the front of your phone, and you'll swipe up and answer it.
Yeah, and when Penny was at the bench at 9:45, the screen was still lit up, and it had a picture of two men. Well, not picture, but she knew it's 2 men on there.
God, it's scary. It is scary. Why didn't they look at the river? Why does no one just look at this situation and just cast their eyes into that river and have a quick scour over the river and see if there was anything amiss? Because they might have seen somebody struggling. Yep.
They did. Penny did ring Moifet's, Mark. We did say that a second ago. She rung Moifet's, Anne-Marie and Susan.
And she claims that they didn't want to know, but I can't see that either, because they're going to try and be helpful, aren't they? They probably might not be able to divulge and say, "Oh, here's the owner's phone number" or anything, but they certainly say, "Leave it with me, and we'll try and get a phone call out to the owner," that type of thing.
Yep. So right. Yeah. You've said that Anne-Marie. Oh, Anne-Marie.
I mentioned Anne-Marie earlier on in terms of she never got called as a witness. Now, she would have been one of the better people to call as a witness, in my opinion, with it being the person that she spoke to, Paul, that morning. She spoke to all the witnesses, basically. She spoke to Roger, Susan, the school, Paul, everyone. And Penny. Everyone she spoke to, and she didn't get called as a witness. And so I just find that a bit confusing as well, really, as to why she didn't get called in, because I would have called her like one of the more key witnesses.
Yeah.
Again, in my opinion.
Yeah, so they've bumped into obviously Anne-Marie. Anne-Marie recognises the screensaver and calls the school. The school calls Paul. Then Paul calls Anne-Marie and tell her that Nikki is struggling. I don't quite get that either, because why? I think
he says in his interview, doesn't he, that he was calling. Was he calling Anne-Marie from the car? I think, to see where she was, or was it the police that he called from the car?
I think the police said he called from the car.
So he's en route and he's going from Inskip to St Michael's after he gets a phone call from Anne-Marie, and then he gets off the phone to Anne-Marie, and then he phones the police straight away. before he arrives in St. Michael's.
And the other thing that I've noticed, I twigged this the other day. So Helen O'Neill heard the scream at 9:35, but Veronica didn't hear the scream till 9:50.
Yeah. So that's a bit of a time difference, isn't it? Again, you don't know how accurate the times were, but a lady was saying that she was heading out and she was prepping to go, wasn't she? She was waiting on someone to come in and, was it dog sit?
Yeah. And
So
she said she went out to let the dogs out, and she went out there to clean up after them, and that's when she heard the scream. And it was literally just after she had just sent a text message to her neighbour.
So I suppose if she's got the phone text message there, that would give her a pretty good time, wouldn't it, to go with? And then there was a person in the tennis centre, wasn't there, who was with PC Hicks when she heard the scream.
Yeah, that was Veronica. So she heard that scream. She stayed at 10:50. But Helen said she heard the scream at 9:35.
Danber says, why wasn't the screams heard on Penny CCTV? Yeah, I don't know with Penny CCTV, because we've been told a number of things about them. I don't know if they actually record sounds. That was never discussed. And then there was a rumour, and I don't know how true it was, that one of the cameras, which was around the Rowanwood area, there's two cameras looking in different directions, and the one that was looking towards the field was broken. But then the police said, no, all the CCTV cameras are all in working order. Yeah. So, but it was definitely reported on that camera that overlooked the field was broken, out of order. And as I understand it, that Penny's Farm have got that it's their CCTV camera to maintain.
At the time of the scream that Helen heard, Penny was on her way to the bench. So why had Penny not mentioned that she heard a scream?
Yeah. It just really, when you look at it just really doesn't add up, does it?
No.
And I just think, with, and I don't want to sound ageist here or anything, but I think with all the people, there's a lot of elderly people who've got hearing impairments and things like that. That this is why I think Anne-Marie Fletcher would have been a really good witness, because she's a younger person and she's knows a little bit more about technology, and she was involved with the school as a governor and things, so she would have been able to explain things a little bit better perhaps during the inquest.
Yeah. I think
that it was Anne-Marie that phoned Paul Ansell, not the other way around, or did he ring her back?
Paul rang Anne-Marie, yeah.
He rang Anne-Marie. I'm assuming as a school governor as well, and maybe as a friend perhaps, because I believe that she and Nikki were friends and they were both school governors at one stage. They might have had each other's numbers in phones and stuff.
Lisa, I don't know whether the police checked whether Penny attended her appointment, but the coroner said, "Did you make your appointment?" And she said, "Yes, I did." So that's probably good enough for them in their eyes.
Yeah, it would have been good to know that had been checked, though, wouldn't it, really?
Yeah. Right, so the next part is Rebecca Smith. You can get the map up for this. Walter resident said that the Fletcher kid knew how to shut off the CCTV cameras at Rowanwater. He had turned the camera off prior to the 27th. That's the thing, there's been reports as well, isn't there, that the cameras weren't working.
Yeah, no, that's right. That, you know, when the case was first being covered by the media, and they announced that there's a camera right near Rowan Woods, with one camera looking in the direction of Rowan Woods houses, and then the other one which would have been looking on the upper fields. So it wouldn't have covered the bench area, but it would have certainly covered, you know the part where the beach, well, you know, there's like a beach effect area there. It would have covered over there, and at least it would have picked up Nikki at some stage in a walk.
Yeah.
That was out of order.
But that's what I don't get. Why didn't Anne-Marie ring Paul directly? Because Paul rung Anne-Marie, so he must have had her number. So why didn't she ring him directly? Because they must have each other's numbers.
Well, yeah, because Nikki and Anne-Marie were both apparently friends at some stage, and they were both school governors, weren't they, as well?
Yep.
Usually when you've got kids, you might swap your number with a few of the mums, because sometimes you have this informal relationship with other parents where, you know, say if I'm running late, I might phone a friend and I might say, hey, do you mind just picking my kids up from school? I'm running like literally 15 minutes late. Can you just grab them and start walking them down the road, and I'll drive to yours, and I'll grab the kids off you as soon as I get there. I had that relationship with quite a few of the different parents, and vice versa as well. And then all you'd do then is you'd phone the school and say, I've authorised, you know, so and so to collect my children, and you know they're fine with it. Or in case of like my best mates, big circle of friends, we had you have a list of people who you allow your kids to go with after school, and they were named on there, and vice versa again.
Yep. Right, Rebecca Smith. We are going to be able to get a bit more of the times up on this one.
Yeah, she's got like lots of info, hasn't she?
Yeah, she's got all the times written down. 8:41. David Hall sees who they believe to be Nikki. Just make me laugh. Walking along Garston Road towards the Iron Bridge. So I'd say just before.
What was that?
Hmm?
What was that?
David Hall. At that point, Richard Fife apparently is already in the field walking his dog. (8:46). Nikki's handset pings in the area around the bench, so she's just entered the field. Christine Bowman was walking along Allotment Lane at this point as well. At 8:52, Richard Fife has left the field. So he must be near Penny's Caravan.
Yeah, we've calculated this back from the next scene on CCTV where we find him shortly. So that he's
at Allotment Lane. So yeah, he's there. At 8:55, they know that Claire is making her journey along the river path in the same way that Nikki did, as she reaches the lower field. Have you seen what they've done here? So Richard Fife has just left the field.
So he's just vanished at 8:52, and then it's at literally 2 minutes later. Then Christine Bowman So
At 8:54, Richard Fife is caught on CCTV camera at Allotment Lane. Okay, and then 8:55, they know that Claire Chesham is making her journey from the school to the river path. As she reaches the lower field, she describes seeing Nicola in the lower field at the top corner towards the hedgerow that divides the two fields. So she's just heading towards Rowan.
And then she says, yeah, the handset data on Nikki's phone confirms that she's in that area.
So 8:41. So Nikki's been in the field a little while now. 10 minutes.
Yeah.
At 9 o'clock, they know that Claire continues to walk, seeing Nicola in the distance.
And then 8:59, Nikki sends a Facebook message to Lucy Marcella, telling her to talking about a play date.
Yep. 9:05, Claire describes seeing Nikki in the upper field.
Yeah. And 9:08.
Yeah.
They've changed positions, so Nikki is now behind Claire.
So all I could assume here is they've walked next to the river, and then Nikki's gone back round towards Rowan to do that loop again, because she does the loop round twice, and then that makes her behind Claire Chesham.
Yeah, that makes sense, actually. Yeah, because if she's walking in a loop which will be smaller again, so she'll end up behind her because she's kind of like doing laps, isn't she?
Yeah.
With this field.
So again, at this point, Christine Bowman is returning from the area of the field, so she must be walking back up the wooded area because she never actually goes into the field.
Yeah.
At 9:10, they estimate this is the last sighting that Claire has of Nikki. And again,
That's
they
the
do.
last time everyone sees her.
Yeah, they do this by calculating the time that she gets to the CCTV cameras at Allotment Lane. So at 9:18, Claire is picked up on the CCTV at Allotment Lane.
Would it take you 8 minutes to walk from that? 8 minutes?
No.
That's, from when we were there, I don't. We're not like really fast walkers, are we? Because we were like, I'm not anyway.
And they know from the digital data that the last human interaction on Nicola's mobile was at 9:18, and the same time as she receives a WhatsApp message from Louise.
And I think that WhatsApp message, I think, goes unread, doesn't it?
Yeah. At 9:20, they know that Claire is further up Allotment Lane, so she must be exiting Allotment Lane.
Yeah.
And at this time, the mobile phone is showing in the area of the bench. And that's where it stays until we believed it's moved at 10:33.
So that's like a whole hour, really, isn't it? Where the phone is apparently remaining in situ for a whole hour.
Yeah.
It's like a long time.
At 9:23, Penny is seen leaving CCTV.
With the dog. But like my thoughts on this are that okay, so her CCTV where she knows where it's pointed, etc., sees her leaving at 9:23, but we don't know. She said we know she was seen earlier than that, tending to her chickens, and that's why she got the yarn and put it in her pocket from, you know, the hay bale, wasn't it? After she'd been
the lambs.
tending.
Yeah, she was feeding the lambs. So Penny walks round by
But she could have
Hughes.
been somewhere else earlier than 9:23 and just maybe made her way to that spot, potentially. Because we know she was certainly, you know, active and around, you know, doing stuff in the area before 9:23.
Yeah. At 9:35, they know Penny is at the bench tending to Willow, because that's when Keith Barlow, who lives in Rowanwater, is coming out of Rowanwater with his dog.
Yeah.
And that's at 9:35. So that straight away puts Penny's statement of being at the bench at 9:45 completely out.
Yeah. Her times like stuck out like a sore thumb. When you actually listen to the audio and you like, it's confusing for you guys because you're hearing us reading the audio in bits. But when you're hearing it like back to back and then each person coming in and giving their evidence, you realise that her timings stick out like a sore thumb. They just don't marry up with anyone else's.
Jane, yes, she does. And then, so Keith Barlow does his walk and carries on to walk towards Penny. So he comes out at 9:35, okay? And then it's saying Penny and Keith have a brief interaction and as described by Penny, between 9:36 and 9:55. So it's taken Keith Barlow 1 minute, really, to walk around that field to get to Penny.
Yeah.
And they know from the evidence about the scream. At 9:45, Penny returns home. And Roger is already out on his walk. He's not at the field yet. At 9:59, Keith Barlow returns back to Rowanwater. And then Roger, they believe that Roger reached the bench at 10:10.
Yeah. And then, like, meanwhile, Penny's been making numerous phone calls to Moy Vets, so that takes us around about the 10 o'clock mark. So she's on the phone to Moy Vets, and she tries to memorize a number off the dog tag, but I think it doesn't ring properly. So she calls Susan Jones, who phones Roger Jones.
Yeah, see, Roger, it says on here that Susan rang Roger makes a call to his wife Susan at 10:12. So 2 minutes after arriving at the bench, he's phoned Susan. Danvers, I'm just checking that for you.
So Susan's got both Roger and Penny trying to call her, but Penny must have reached her. She's tried to phone her about 9:59 or 10 o'clock. Penny must have been on the phone first, and then when Roger's keep going to call him Ron. When Rogers got through to his wife, she must have already have spoken to Penny.
Yeah. Because he was trying to ring Susan. No, he was trying to ring Susan, and Susan was trying to ring him, I think he said. So there's been all of these to and fro in, and it's only taken 2 minutes for Susan to ring him.
Yeah.
Roger continues with his walk around the field at 10:15. Norma is in the area, and Penny is leaving at 10:19 for her appointment that she has already arranged in Garstang.
But Roger said to the press that he only got as far as like the red brick building when he turned round and thought something's not right here.
Yep.
That's what he said. He states to Sky when he was they interviewed him and his dog taking a dump, and yeah, he just sort of said that he thought somebody had got caught loose and had gone to the toilet, and then he just so just taking basically a few steps forward, really, isn't it? It's not that far between the bench and the red brick building. And then he thought something's not right here, and I assume that's when he turned back on himself.
Yeah.
But did no one look in the river? You just look in the river.
Yes, at 10:19. Yeah, Penny is leaving for her appointment, so she's leaving the caravan site. At 10:20, Norma reaches allotment lane and meets up with Susan Jones, and the two of them decide to go to the bench to meet Roger. So from 10:19 and 10:20, there's nothing in Penny's statement that she drove past Susan and Norma on allotment lane.
No. Which you would expect them. This is what I mean. It's weird, isn't it, how the people are not.
And then it's taken them 10 minutes from allotment lane to get to the bench at 10:30.
Which, in reality, if it was a fit person walking, I'd say they could probably do it in 5 minutes.
Well, she got to that area pretty quickly on her statement.
Yeah. Because like when you see it on video and when you're looking at the map there, for instance, it looks like quite a big area. You're like looking at it, and it, because I remember before I went there thinking, oh, it's big. When you get there, you just realise how small and compact it really is, and how you just blink and you're there, and you see you see the church and the bench and the bridge, and then you walk down the river path, and then you're there at the bench, and then and then you see the red brick building, which is very, very close to the bench, and it's small.
Yeah. Bye, Jackie. So Susan stated it takes 15 minutes to walk from their house to the bench, but then it's taken them 10 minutes to walk from allotment lane to the bench, and they live just off Royal Cliff Road.
It's
yeah. At the times, the reading indicates that the phone is being moved, and that's at 10:32.
Have any of the guys in chat, any of you been to St. Michael's? Oh, bye, Jackie, by the way. Thanks for joining us.
And at 10:40, Susan, Roger and Norma walk back from the bench with Willow to allotment lane. And it's around this time there's numerous phone calls from Paul to Nikki's phone, which is unanswered. At 10:50, Anne-Marie phones the school. At 10:54, a member of staff from the school ring Paul. At 10:57, Paul makes a phone call to Anne-Marie, having just left his home address.
So he's in the car, then, isn't he?
Yeah. And then at 11, Paul rings 999. And he arrives at the bench at 11:10.
So he's obviously, so Paul obviously got his phone with him, because I know some people were questioning if Paul had his phone with him or not, but he would have had his phone with him, because he's making phone calls while he's en route from his home to the bench.
But did anyone else see that with the timeline? They all seem to be just missing each other.
And it's just odd, isn't it? That en route, though, that you would have thought that they would have sort of caught a glimpse of each other, with it not being a massive area. You might have seen them in the distance, and they might have said, "Oh, I've seen, so and so in the distance."
Yeah, it's crazy. Right, I think we should move on to Paul and Louise's statements, because it's half.
Oh yeah, I've got that. So we've got Louise first, haven't we?
Yeah.
I think what we've decided to do is just to read the parts that are poignant to actually what happens that day, rather than everything. Just because we're covering the case of what happened that day. If that's okay with everyone, we will go through things. We can go through things another time, but just for the sake of this, we're looking actually at what happened that day, because obviously she's Louise Cunningham is Nikki's sister, and she talks about Nikki. And if I'm honest, I feel it's quite sensitive.
Yeah. So do you want to read from Adlai in the terms of hobbies? Have you got that up yet?
Yeah, I've got it here. So, okay, in terms of hobbies, what does she used to do?
And Louise said she didn't really have any hobbies. She was quite a simple person. She was quite content on going out on country walks as a family most weekends. She used to read occasionally, and then started to get back into some form of exercise. Just before Christmas, she started doing a hoop class with Nancy, one of the school mums.
And then the coroner says, I was thinking more in terms of she's having a special bond with Willow.
She replies, yes, very much so. She's like a third child.
And then Dr. Adley says, third child, yeah. In terms of that, Spring Spaniels are the sort of dog that could be best described as dizzy and that require a lot of exercise. Did she walk the dog a great deal? Was that a relaxation for her?
She said, well, put it this way, Willow is nearly 8 and I don't think she's ever missed a dog walk. Nikki will always find time in her day to take Willow for a walk.
And then Dr. Edley said, fine. I'll come back to this slightly later. Did you and Nikki ever discuss her menopause symptoms and the way she was dealing with this?
She discussed with her that she was having some struggles with the HRT, and it was quite soon on, really. She's going back into the summertime when she was talking about this. She was saying that she was having problems with headaches, which the GP obviously touched upon.
So this is summer of 2022.
Yes.
Okay.
She was having bad headaches from it and just couldn't seem to get the balance right. She did mention that she was having trouble sleeping on some nights, which again the GP covered, and she was doing what exactly that she said to the GP, like in herbal tea, lavender spray, and anything to help her relax before bed.
And then Dr. Adley says, all right, in terms of HRT coming up to Christmas of 2021, she stops it on that occasionally. Were you aware of that?
Yes. No.
No. Then he asks, okay, so coming up to Christmas 22, I think she also stops again her HRT treatment. Was that something you discussed?
It was, because this time they was out for a family meal, and she had brought it up again that she was struggling with the medication a bit. So she said she was going to try and stop taking it, then maybe try and sort something a bit more herbal, go down the herbal routes to help with the symptoms, because she didn't feel that medication was really doing anything.
And then he asks, and how did she get on with that? How did stopping a treatment work for her?
And Louise replies, well, she did have a blip over Christmas period. However, come January, she started to get back to her normal self. She was back on the HRT medication and back to work and completely back to normal Nikki.
Okay, just so I understand, coming up to Christmas, she was off the HRT, I think, and she starts to use more alcohol than you were comfortable with. Would that be fair?
Yes, her drinking did increase.
Okay, now I think it reaches over Christmas and New Year. Then she stops for a period around New Year again, and then starts drinking for a period, which culminates on the 10th, with you ended up calling an ambulance because you were concerned about this. One of the things that the ambulance was called about was her making comments about not wanting to be here, but then not knowing what it meant. Did you ever discuss anything like that with her?
And Louise replies that she don't actually recall her saying anything, if she's being honest. Or she doesn't recall Nikki saying that, if she's being honest.
Yeah.
But she's never confided in me about suicidal thoughts or anything like that at all.
And then Dr. Adley says, okay, so if she's going to do this, in terms of circumstances which she was found where the dog was just left loose in the field, is this something you would think that if she even had the thought of this, of taking her own life, she would just leave the dog in a field and go?
Absolutely not. There's no way Nikki would leave Willow unattended by choice.
And he says, all right, part of the reason for asking about the planning was that if she intended to harm herself, would she go into the river with the car keys in her pocket?
Absolutely not.
And then Dr. Adley says, if so, would she leave the keys behind because she wouldn't want to inconvenience people?
Louise is just saying that she don't ever think that Nikki would ever go into a river. Essentially, she just wouldn't do that. I don't really think the keys are relevant. I think it's just would have been in her pocket during the walk. I don't think there would have been any reason to it.
And Dr. Adley asks, after the 10th, how did Nikki behave? How did she appear after that period of time?
After the 10th, she said it was a bit of a wake-up call for Nikki. She was absolutely fuming with Louise for calling the ambulance. She thought that she was overreacting. Maybe I was. But she says that Nikki's her sister and she was concerned and just wanted a professional opinion for her peace of mind. She was just trying to help her, and then she was just it was the realization for her. So she started to get back to normal. She started to take the HRT medication again. She was back to work. She was doing everything. In fact, if someone had seen her literally 2 weeks or a few days afterwards, you would have never known that there would have been any prior struggles.
And then Dr. Adley says that, okay, she regains equilibrium. Would that be fair?
Yes.
And when did you see Nikki last, please?
She believes it was actually Friday the 13th.
Oh, God. Okay. And how was she on that occasion?
And she replies, yes, she was good. She actually stayed with her for a few days afterwards, obviously, on the incident of the 10th. She wanted to stay with her, so she arranged to work from Nikki and Paul's home. She was getting back to work mode because she was conscious that she had to, again, in finance, occasionally you have to do like refresher courses. And she was mindful that the deadline was on the 20th of January. She was working from the kitchen on the Friday. And she just said to Nikki, let's get the laptop, we'll have a look. We both did the modules that she needed to cover because that was something that was on her mind and she knew the 20th was coming up.
So she completed that course?
Yes, both of them, 90% on both.
Which is a really, really good score, guys, by the way, because it's dead hard. I've done banking exams myself, and I know I've got colleagues who went on to do mortgage ones. I did unsecured lending, but they went on to do secured, and they've said it's really hard. So that was a really good grade. Anyway, Dr. Adley says, okay, obviously, I'm keeping in contact with Nikki, because you were certainly on the morning of the 27th, you were talking about booking a spa day.
Correct. And I think then it goes on to Miss Cartwright.
Yeah. So, yeah. Just moving over to that part. Sorry, I'm just finding that now. So she says, yeah. Thank you, Miss Cunningham. Louise Tosh, to perhaps clear it up. And then now the coroner asked you about your relationship with Nikki. Would it be fair to say that you and Nikki were incredibly close? Not just incredibly close, but you come from a very loving family, and so you were brought up down south, but essentially mum and dad moved north to be near their girls.
You lost me.
She just says, yes, that's right. And then the coroner asks about your hobbies. And would it be fair to say that Nikki's hobby or Nikki's life was family? Have you got that?
No, just keep reading.
She answers, Louise answers, absolutely. The bullies, her girls, Paul and you, and your partner were all part of that close family. And now you mentioned and dealt with the fact that there was a blip. But again, would it be fair to say that as a loving family, you were all rallying round one another? And Louise says yes. And in fact, and then Cartwright says, and in fact, perhaps you said maybe it was overkill. Why would you call an ambulance? But you were worried about Nikki. And then Louise says, yes, I was worried. And Cartwright says, and in fact, she was really cross with you with the fact that you had done this. And then Louise says, yeah, she was absolutely fuming. Miss Cartwright says, and the coroner asks you about the comment about whether or not she's done something, whether or not you've done something different or not wanted to be here. It's fair to say that Nikki did not want to be there when the ambulance was coming. And Louise says, yeah, but actually, from your perspective, Nikki had said something to indicate to your thoughts of wanting not to be around for her family, of wanting not to be around her family. And Louise says, no, she's never said anything like this. So basically, she's not said she's not wanted to be around her family. And now in terms of that, after the input and assistance, obviously the ones that matter was mentioned at the time was alcohol, and you surmise to the coroner that Nikki had engaged that advice and was on like a wake-up call, that call out. And Nikki did reduce and stop her alcohol use. Louise says yes. And then you told us that she stopped her HRT around the Christmas time, but then Nikki did start taking HRT again, and Louise replied yes, she started taking it pretty much around the 11th. I was staying with her for a few nights, as I say, until Friday the 13th. So I was making sure I was physically there. So I was making sure, and she was rubbing cream on her legs and taking a medication. Then obviously, I went back home on the Friday, and then was FaceTiming her to do that for a few nights. And then eventually I could tell you she's back to her normal self, and trusted her to do it on her own, and she did.
I'm with you again now. I think I'm missing a page or two. That's why I got confused.
Oh, I'll do Cartwright. So Miss Cartwright then asks, so would it be fair to say that throughout January you were in touch with Nikki?
Yes.
And certainly in terms of how you described it to the coroner, that's perhaps after a week, or certainly a couple of weeks. It was a bit of a blip in January, as if the blip in January had not happened and Nikki was back to being Nikki.
That's right.
Planning on the calendar for the following that timetable.
Yes.
And now you've mentioned about Willow being like a third child. I think you've told us that walking Willow was central with the routine for Nikki.
Yes, it was.
And you're absolutely certain in respect of Nikki not doing anything that would leave Willow unattended by choice?
Absolutely not.
Now the coroner asks you a question about a text message, and we think we know that there was a message, sorry, a WhatsApp message at about 8:52, but you and Nikki had planned to go on a spa day to Ruby Hall, I think on the 18th of March.
Yeah.
And that was using a voucher that'd been purchased by Nikki's girls for Mother's Day.
Yeah, so her her half was covered by the girls who brought the voucher for Mother's Day the previous year. it was coming up to obviously March that it was going to expire. So they had planned to go for the Saturday together, which was a common thing. We did it quite often, and her part of the voucher was covered by the girls. So I needed to get that on the Thursday night. She sent her a picture of that so they could obviously put in the code when she was booking it on Friday morning.
And I think we're getting evidence, which we heard yesterday from DSI Smith, that I think that around 8:52 you confirmed that you'd made that booking. So Nikki had seen that.
And she doesn't think that she ever saw that message, unfortunately.
But I think it was at 9:18, the 9:18. I just want to deal with that and perhaps just read the message that you sent to Nikki at 9:18. The difference of the £22 will cover the dress that Mum got you for Christmas that you didn't keep and I had.
And then she says that, yeah, Mum actually brought her this dress at Christmas and she didn't like it, so I took it, and the difference in paying for the spa she covered because she kept the dress.
And that was going to be for an afternoon tea, and you were wearing the dress, that was Nikki's dress.
Yes.
Now, in terms of, you've already told the coroner, as part of the time in January, you were still at the home with Nikki, and you'd sat tests with her around, and keeping it up to date, her financial regulatory position, and I think you told the coroner that she passed with 90-odd%.
Yeah.
And I think you both sat it together, because you're also in financial services too, aren't you?
Yes.
And would it be fair to say that Nikki later parts in the later parts of January was back doing the job that she loved, and she had particularly the day before, we're all aware that she had a really positive career meeting with Lowell Holmes about her ongoing work, and with them as part of one of her different roles she was doing within her professional life.
She replies, yes, that's right. On a Thursday, Nikki would go into Love Homes in Garstang and work from there. Generally, she worked from home, but on a Thursday, she would go into the office. She didn't actually see her in person on the Thursday, but Dot and Ernie did. But since obviously talking about everything that's happened, she said that on Thursday afternoon she had a really successful meeting with the team. She was excited about her career going forward and in generally good spirits.
And then Miss Cartwright just says, thank you very much for answering my questions. And then Dr. Agley says, sorry, I'm still struggling with the fact you named after a Toshiba with microwave. Oh, yeah, there was a bit of banter in the court with the family, which was nice to see, to be honest. It must be so difficult for the family. Thoughts always are there with them.
Louise was helping Nikki do these tests that she had to take to refresh herself.
Yeah, so before Nikki had the kids, she worked in financial services, and then she'd done what a lot of people have to do, is like come out of the job, and then it's whoever's, if you and your partner look at who's earning the most money, and then whoever's earning the most will stay working, and then it's usually the mum that stays off and has a maternity leave, and then so she'd just gone back to work in that industry again, so she'd just have to do her refreshers to get everything back up to date again. Some exams you have to do annually anyway, regardless if you're still doing that job, and then some certainly after you've had a break. Like I had to do. I went back after maternity leave. In like I was on unsecured lending, and I had to go back, and it was a good sort of 6-week training course for me to go back, even though I knew what I was doing. I'd been doing a job whilst I was pregnant, but I'd had maternity leave off, so they just want to make sure that you're fully up to date on everything and your systems are all fully logged and everything. But yeah, I think Dr. Adley just sort of signs it off from there anyway. I don't think there's anything else.
No.
We move over to Paul now, so he's getting sworn in, and Dr. Adley says, so you've been in court and you've listened to both the GP and coming out and talking about Nikki's health and the menopause and the alcohol use and the memory from it. If there's nothing you wish to add, I will leave it there and just talk about how Nikki was with you. Was she in sorts the days and weeks leading up to the 27th? Is there anything you wish to add or wish to correct?
He said no other than the blip over the Christmas period, and then in January she was back to herself, looking forward to the future, and everything was on the up.
And Dr. Adley said, all right, so in terms of the week before the 27th, how had she been that week? How was the mood and how was she behaving?
She was good. She was getting back into her work. She was excited about work. It was going really well. She worked hard to passing her exams and starting off on her own. She spent most of last year doing an awful lot of hard work to build up the business. She was, starting to see the rewards of this, generating a lot of business. She was excited about how it was looking.
Dr. Adley says, I think she was also proud that she was earning her own money.
She was. Yeah, she was. She was looking forward to, having that level of independence again.
And then Dr. Adley says, on the morning of the 27th, when she leaves the house with your two daughters about 8:26, prior to that, what was she behaving normally? Now, how was she behaving that morning?
Well, she had a good day before, so she come home full of beans and excited about the meeting that she had and how the rest of the year was looking with the estate agents that she was working with. So she had a busy day on Friday. She had a meeting that was planned later that morning, and she had another meeting that was planned later on in the afternoon. So he actually works for a US company. So he was up. So a lot of his work is in the evening, and Thursday night he was up late with a meeting till about 1 a.m. So he had actually gotten up late on the Friday morning, and when he come downstairs, Nikki was up and everything was ready to go. She was ready for the day ahead. The girls were ready for school. Everything was in a good place.
And Dr. Adley says, so it's just a normal morning.
Yeah.
Okay, and you've been in court and you've seen the route that she walks around the fields. Was that her normal route?
Yeah, she always goes through the gate, turns left, follow the hedgerow onto the second field, and then she should always do 2 loops of that field before heading back down towards the bench.
Then Dr. Adley says, and that obviously brought her back to the gate and then back down to pick up the car at school.
Yes.
Okay. And then Dr. Adley goes on to ask, so what I'm interested in it was whether or not you'd had any thoughts as to why the dog harness was between the bench and the river.
So he states that they always take the harness off Willow before going through the gate into the field, because with Willow being a springer, she's very erratic. So she gets into all the bushes and everything. So that's why they take the harness off so she can't get caught. Carry it around the field with us and then put it back on when they get back to the gate.
And then Dr. Redley says, okay, it might be me, but if you were carrying a harness and an extendable dog lead around, would you not put it down on the bench, or would it not be something you would expect? It's just dropping halfway between the bench and the drop in the river. I was just wondering if there was anything you knew about Nikki's habits of walking the dog, anything that she did on the routine at the end of the walk. It might explain why it was in the middle of the ground rather than with the phone.
And he says he means like every Friday morning she has a conference call that she logs into on her phone, and she has the phone out in front of her on speaker. And then when she gets back to the bench, she's still listening to the meetings. So he thinks that she must have put the phone on the bench to carry on listening to it, and then go and put the harness back on Willow.
And then Dr. Adley says, so in terms of anything she had done and said, had she given any indication or thought of self-harm or suicide?
And he replies, no. He means that there was a couple of throwaway comments made over the blip period, but nothing that gave him great concern.
And then Dr. Adley asks, did you attach any weight to these? You just assumed it was, attributed it to the blip and everything went back to normal.
Yeah.
Okay, and we've heard that, I think, on Friday, you sent a text because she's not home, she's not back home. What time was that, please?
It was around 10:30.
And the text asks, have you got lost? I think it is.
Have you got lost? Yeah.
And then he says, all right. And when did you get a call? We've heard from the school. It was the school that called you, and that Willow was found loose in the area, and they didn't know where Nikki was. What time was that, please?
It was around 10:50.
Because there's also Ring doorbell footage of you around that time leaving the house, going to the car, and the phone was a Bluetooth handset with it.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. Is there anything further that you think I ought to have asked but I haven't? And then he asks Miss Cartwright if she's got any questions. And she says, thank you, Mr. Ansell. I think if we perhaps start with a text at 10:48, have you got lost? And if you can use that to track back what you'd understood about Nikki's day was meant to look like on the 27th. We know that Nikki took the girls to school that day, and you told us that you'd been up late working that night on a work meeting the night before. And perhaps just to clarify, is it right that you work as an engineer, but a lot of your work is in America, and you work from home, and you've been on calls because of the time difference, and you work till late. So in terms of Nikki, you said that everything was going well with the day before. She'd had a good meeting and was in a meeting at Love Homes.
It was, yeah.
Can you perhaps give us a little bit more detail about that meeting and what that meant for Nikki and her career?
Yeah, it was a big meeting. like he says, she had worked hard, you know, to build up her business. She spent all last year doing a lot of groundwork, and she had developed a relationship with Love Homes, where she was predominantly their sole mortgage advisor. They were working together on things that they had planned for the year to generate a lot of business together. So she spent the afternoon at Love Homes going through all these plans with them, and she come home really sort of amazing spirits about that because of the things that had been discussed with and plans that Love Homes and had wanted to do with her.
And then Miss Cartwright says, and in terms of work, would it be fair to say that it wasn't just her career that was going well for Love Homes, and that Nikki had also had a relationship with other companies that were also going well for her as in work terms?
He replies, yeah, she had a local building company called Concert Living, as she got into there as well. She was there a mortgage advisor for the new builds at the top. And on the top of that, she was also generating her own business just through our own advertisement and word of mouth.
And then Miss Cartwright says, and can you think, just to clarify, so you've been told about Love Homes and the new builds company Concept Living, but can you tell us a little more about the exclusively mortgage that sort of work for Nikki, please?
So Exclusively Mortgage is a company that she works for. So she was self-employed, but worked right under the umbrella of the guy called Ben. When she passed her exams, she was worried about sort of getting back into the business after being out of it for so many years. But then Ben came along and gave her the opportunity to work under him and his business. She would take a percentage of the leads and business generated.
And then Miss Cartwright says, so now we've heard yesterday from Detective Becky Smith about an email sent by Nikki at 8:53 to Ben. Now that's Ben of Exclusively Mortgage. And I think, is it fair to say that it was about a mortgage that Nikki was sorting out for a client and was seeking advice?
It was, yes.
Are you able to assist us? Because we know that Nikki was walking out with Willow whilst juggling work, but had Nikki been what had been Nikki's plan when she got home? What was she going to be doing when she got home?
She had an appointment for 11, a mortgage application, and she had quite a lot of paperwork to get ready for the meeting that she had later on, where she was doing another mortgage application as well.
And then Miss Cartwright goes on to ask, and so when Nikki left that day and to take the girls to school, you knew she'd taken Willow, and I think we've already heard from Louise that Willow always got her walk. She was a third child. Does that fit your view of things?
Yeah.
And what did you expect Nikki to come back to continue her work in the office home?
And he replies, yes. So Nikki would always come back at 9:45. Sometimes it would be 10. He has known her to come back at 9:15. But when it got to 10:30, that's when he started to, feel a bit concerned.
And in terms of other plans that Nikki has, we've heard some evidence, I think yesterday from Lucy Marcella, saying that she may have been going out with some other mums from school that evening.
Yeah, that was arranged for the Saturday night. Some of the mums for school were going.
And Miss Cartwright says, and can I just get you to assist with the planning for Saturday? We've heard some reference to text messages with Lucy at 8:53, and I think in the morning it was arranged for a play date for the following day. Can you tell us about what Nikki had planned for the Saturday, please?
Yeah, she was excited about taking S for her first street dancing lesson in Blackpool. H also had a gymnastics competition coming up that day. H was meant to be at gymnastics practice all day, so that's why Nikki arranged for a play date for S with Lucy and her little daughter.
And Miss Cartwright says, so there'd be the street dancing in the morning in Blackpool, and then she'd have the play date in the afternoon with Lucy's daughter. And again, would this have been on the calendar?
So, I'm sorry, what?
Would it have been on the calendar?
Yes.
Sorry. It's funny when it's a court environment, isn't it? So Miss Cartwright goes on to say, so you say this information you provided to the coroner that you'd have known that you've known Nikki for 12 years.
Yeah.
And she's an amazing mum.
Incredible mum.
And being that incredible mum was Nikki's main focus.
Yes, without a doubt.
And you describe your daughters, and her daughters were her absolute world.
Yeah.
And you say that it'd been, I think, a real source of pride for her after the girls were getting a bit older to go back and claim a professional identity and have a career.
Yeah, she was. She was looking forward to having that independence and, you know, doing the best of both, being a great mum and also having a career that she enjoyed.
You use a description. It was hard work learning to juggle family life with working again, but she enjoyed the independence and she was beginning to reap the rewards that the work was beginning to pick up. And you were also going on to say that you to confirm that we've already heard that Nikki has always been a planner, and you only need to look at the calendar in the kitchen to see what she was planning, and everything from smallest to largest.
Yeah, it's a good job. She was a planner, I'm not. We worked well together because I guess I gave her a bit of spontaneousness and she planned things where I needed it.
And then you say about Nikki's personality. Nikki was a quiet person. She enjoyed the simpler side of life. You also say that she was a very private person and kept herself to herself. And you're nodding. But I was struck yesterday with a description of the evidence from the other mums that Nikki would have had a chat about the dog and stroked another dog. But she was still keeping herself to herself on her walk with Willow. Would that be a fair description?
Yeah.
And say that she adored nothing more than a walk with Willow in a countryside or a family walk in the hills and a nice meal out. And then Paul is getting upset. She asks him if he's okay. Bless him. It is so hard in coroner's inquest. I had to go through my own with my partner. It's horrible. It is. I was crying. I was crying. Everyone, all his family was crying, and even the coroner started crying when I was in there. Because it's so intense when you're in there. I don't think you get it when you read it like this. It's horrible because you feel bereaved and it brings it all back, doesn't it? And then she said, she asked Mr. PA if he wants a break, and he said,
he does go out for a bit, and then he comes back.
He comes back in again, and then Miss Cartwright says, just a few Thank you, Mr. Onslow. Just a few brief topics to finish off, if you're able to continue. And he's, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I was having a drink.
And then if I could just ask if you can assist around the call that we know Nikki logs into at 9:01, so that's the works call. Can you just tell us about that? I think you mentioned she had the call every Friday. Can you give us more detail about that, please?
Yeah, it's through the mortgage organisation. It's a weekly conference call that they have. You don't have to dial into it, but Nikki liked to, as she always managed to find some useful information in it. She would never engage in the meeting. It was just a Teams meeting that she would have on her phone and listen to it.
Thank you. And it seems the meeting would last half an hour. Does that fit with your understanding?
Yes, half an hour.
And you've already told the coroner. I think Nikki didn't have the earphones. She would listen to the call over the speakerphone.
Yeah, no earphones, always on speakerphone.
Thank you. Now, can you sisters, and again, you've told the coroner that the precise, the process with the harness for Willow would be that when you're out walking, Willow would be off the harness. So can you just tell us what was happened when you were out walking the dog and the harness was off Willow? Where would it be kept?
So put the lead in your pocket and the harness usually just put over your arm and just take it around with you.
And in your experience of walking with Nikki and Willow off the harness, would there be any reason why you'd put the harness down as part of the walk?
No.
Now, are you able to assist us with knowing the routines of the walk and the location of the bench as to why the phone may be on the bench and the harness where it was? Have you been able to assist with piecing it together, why that might be?
And then he replies, the only thing that he could think of is that she had her phone in her hand, but she wouldn't have been able to put the harness back on Willow with it still being in the meeting and listening to it. So he thinks the only thing that he could think of is that she would put the phone on the bench while she goes to put the harness on Willow.
And are you able to assist us? We know that the sound was increased at 9:18. Are you able to assist us with, was that her usual routine would be? What her usual routine would be? Would it be to stay in the walk until the chat had ended, or would Nikki usually practice to be able to start making her way back to the car before the meeting ends on speakerphone?
Yeah, Nikki wouldn't hang around. She would want to get back.
So she would have put the harness back on Willow and then carried on the walk back to the car whilst listening to the call, rather than waiting for it to end.
Yeah.
And then Miss Cartwright says, thank you. And just in respect to Nikki's swimming ability, I think the coroner surmised it yesterday that Nikki was a holiday type swimmer, so she wouldn't go swimming. Would it be fair to say as a hobby? But could she swim? And she'd be the sort of swimmer that could swim in a pool, not getting her hair wet with sunglasses on.
Yeah.
And then again, just for completeness in the week and before the events of the 27th of January, was there anything about Nikki that and her mental state that caused you concern or alarm?
Nothing. She was doing really well. You know, the working, everything was back to normal. Anyone who would have seen her wouldn't have known anything, you know, that had happened.
And can you confirm, was Nikki back taking HRT at the time?
Yes, she was.
And then just finally, you ended the account that you gave in this way. Perhaps I can just read it just to confirm it's okay. Nikki was loved and surrounded by love. She was grateful for every day. She was an amazing mum and partner, and gave this. And this gave her huge security in life. She focused on the important things and did the right thing by everyone. She was well respected by all who knew her.
He replies, yeah, if you didn't know Nikki and you met Nikki, everybody instantly loved her.
Thank you, Mr. Ansell. Thank you for answering my questions, and I'm sorry to have caused you upset.
Thank you. And that's the end.
Yeah. I think
Gave me goosebumps. I don't know what you made of that.
That's hard going.
I know chat's been going mad.
I'm sorry, chat's because when we're reading, we can't look at chat. It's really difficult.
I know Jo's been answering as much as she can.
Yeah,
but Dan said Louise stayed with Nicola from the 10th to the 13th to look after her. Louise worked from home at Nicola's. Louise said Nicola stayed on the HRT on the 11th, but didn't go. Started on the HRT on the 11th, but didn't go with Nicola on the 11th to the GP for the CT scan. That's true, actually.
Yeah, that's actually, because that will put her in place to be there at the time that Nikki went for the CT scan. Did Nikki maybe go for that CT scan in private? Do you reckon? No one ever asked anyone about that, did they, really?
No.
That's a really good question.
See you for a chat. Been meaning to bring up. Nicola had a partial hemorrhage, meaning she was asphyxiated.
A petechial hemorrhage. Let me just let's get Cart. Is it Cartwright? Wasn't it? It was. Not Cartwright. It was the lady that was the. Have you got that handy?
The results were negative on that. There was no particle hemorrhage.
Yeah, there wasn't a petechial hemorrhage, apparently. Not the coroner, the pathologist, when she did a results from the post-mortem, said there was no petechial hemorrhage.
Yeah,
that's it. That's when your eyes go bloodshot. But it is, with drowning victims, I know this, that some do have it and some don't. Did you ask Peter Falding about that as well to double check?
No, I haven't.
No. Could you? Next time you're speaking to him.
Yeah.
That's worth an ask, isn't it? To see. But I know I've read up on drowned victims and in terms of petechial hemorrhages, and it sometimes some do, some don't. That's the answer I've found.
Yeah. Lisa, if the phone was blank, how could there be wallpaper on it?
Good one, yeah. I don't understand all this phone malarkey. Like how they didn't answer the phone when it was ringing, and then there was wallpaper on it, and then it was blank, and this is a part that really doesn't make sense.
Yeah, Bridget, a scan in private or not, I would have thought that if there was any doubt of injury or concussion, that someone would have driven her. And it's not even that, right? On the 10th, they've called an ambulance and the mental health team out because they're worried for Nikki's state. And then they let her go off on her own the next day. You wouldn't.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense, does it? Yeah. certainly, like if any like my neighbours or anyone I knew was going, I do it all the time. You know, I'll drive someone down to A&E, you know, and get them checked out, or even if I just go and get them signed in and sit with them for a bit, and then I'll bugger off and let them phone me when I'll go and pick them up. But I usually physically get them there. You know,
Yeah.
you don't want them driving or getting on public transport or anything like that, do you? If they're not very well. Even in a taxi, like, you know, I don't think it's always appropriate for them.
Yeah. But like you had literally just before you had the doctor and the mental health clinician giving evidence, and then they've called like Louise up and they've not even asked her about the fall or about Nikki going to the Blackpool place and the GP. There was no mention of that.
She went to a walk-in centre, didn't she? It was like a sort of trauma centre she went to, and then they told her that she needed to go to A&E, and then she had to go and have a CT scan on her brain, didn't she? But like the results came back normal. But it must have been a hell of a bang to her head to go and have all that.
Yeah, Dabbers, I thought the Teams call ended at 9:30.
Yeah, I thought it was half an hour.
Don't know, maybe she was still angry with him. I get that. I can get that she was probably still angry with him, but
she might not have told him that she's going now, because she might have been thinking, oh bloody hell, if I tell him that I'm going to get me head checked out, and you know they're going to worry about it, and it's going to cause more drama again. And she's probably had to go at her sister for overreacting, in her opinion, and you know, calling the ambulance out and everything. So she's probably just thought, I'll just go on my own and deal with this quietly, because as Paul said, she was private.
Yeah, well, correct. The star is quite high to climb over. How did Penny see the dog between the bench and the gate? Plus, how did Penny get herself and the dog over the stile at the same time? So Penny didn't actually see Willow until she had already climbed over the stile. But the big thing is that she had already tied her dog up, climbed over the stile, then saw Willow. So why did she tie her dog up before climbing over the stile?
Yeah.
To get her dog over the stile and her, I would assume that she would have either the dog would have jumped first, or she got over, then the dog jumped over after her.
Yeah. Jane asks, do you think they've been silenced? Do you know what? I think they've been told to follow a narrative. I think to say certain things and not other things.
Yeah,
it just seems.
How was she ever seen in the top field from a distance? I will never know. The person who saw her said she was holding a phone out in front of her, but couldn't describe what she was wearing. See, when Keith mentioned that Nikki was holding the phone out in front of her, they were both on the lower field at that point.
Yeah.
I just know Louise's job is in finance, because she mentioned that she helped.
Yeah.
Both in the same sort of job.
And getting 90% in those exams is really good going. Because honestly, the exams you have to do like anti-money laundering. So many of them. You need to know about all the different worldwide agencies and what they're responsible for, and then you've got things to do with UK law, and then all the different types of mortgage that are out there as well. You've got your buy-to-lets and your normal mortgages, and then you've got holiday where people are buying a holiday home where it's not bricks and mortar. There's shitloads to do when it comes to mortgages. Honest to God, loads and loads. All my friends who've come from unsecured lending and they've gone to secured lending, they've all said that the exams are, you know, a lot more intense in secured lending. I've done a little bit myself because when it came to me doing my own mortgage, I did my own mortgage for myself. I didn't use anyone. I didn't need a broker, or I literally just did it. I got in touch with the mortgage company myself, or the bank, and I filled out all my own paperwork and everything. But it was just because of what my job was. I understood it. But I know generally most people will get a third party to help them, a broker, and you know, to make sure it's all done properly.
Yeah, Donna's put early reports are that Willow was found much later than was originally said. Plus, the phone was on the ground 2 feet from the bench. So many conflicting accounts. There's also been reports that Willow was found running up and down Garstone Road at the beginning.
Yeah, there was. And that was in one of the newspapers, wasn't it? Saying that Willow had been seen running up and down the road.
Yeah.
Like, because that's where I call it pure information, which is where, right in the early days, where before it's been there's been any police press conferences or anything, and you just get the pure local press reporting on the case, and you just get local people's accounts, and that they said about the Willow was on the road, and then, but then what else? There was more, wasn't there, as well?
Yeah, no, there was loads.
I'm just trying to go, because remember that, you know, it was the same, like Willow was found bone dry, because I remember thinking it like a dog would go in after its master, and nobody could understand how the dog was found bone dry, and then there was another one as well by who's the lady, Isla, and I can't remember her surname, the Scottish lady. She reported, you know, with the last man to see Nikki alive, that was in inverted commas, and she said that they spoke about dogs and dogs' leads. There's a conversation about that, but then that's just been like wiped from the internet now. But I do remember seeing it.
Yeah,
there's a lot of I'll tell you what, there's a lot of stuff scrubbed off the internet on this case. Has anyone else noticed that?
Oh, a lot.
They changed the road name, haven't they, as well? Because they had the road names wrong. You know, they were saying Blackpool Lane in Garstang Road, wasn't it? And it was Garstang Lane. They were referring to it as, and then they actually changed the names, because I seen a change when I had a look on the map. I saw the before, and then I saw the after, where they've actually just changed the road. It just changed like overnight one day.
Yeah. Lisa, if the phone was on the floor, surely it would have been wet and had grass and mud on it.
Oh, thanks, Kenny Triquia. Yeah. Isla Triquia. Yeah, but that interview, I can't find it anymore. Said that, and Lisa saying that Nikki was seen with 2 men by the brick building as well. Isla Triquia reported. I think I heard that as well.
Yeah. And do you remember the phone stopped just before the brick building for 10 minutes, and then all of a sudden it got little legs and made its way to the bench?
Yeah, because they didn't say, they pointedly didn't say Nikki took the phone to the bench. She said that the phone made its way to the bench, and he's like, yeah. So the phone's sprouted a pair of little legs, and it's gone to the bench on its own.
And how did Nikki have grass on her foot if she had boots and socks on? Lisa says.
we believe one of her boots fell off because she was found with only one on, wasn't she?
It's never been stated. It's been reported, but
Yeah.
again, in the inquest, nothing. There was not. It was not stated that Nikki still had her gilet on.
So yeah, we don't know what she was wearing when she was found with covers. We know nothing about when she was found and what she was wearing or what she wasn't wearing, or what the state of her clothing was like. Has it been ripped? So that, does she look like she'd been dragged across the river bottom for nearly a month? So it triggers me when I say that as well. So it must trigger other people, but none of that was mentioned. And I think it's important in this case because there are so many question marks. Nobody's seen how Nikki went into the water. They don't know where she went in, where she accessed the water in the first place. They don't know when for sure.
No, they're not. I don't know. It's all the same.
It's just
guessing, isn't it? It's speculation.
It's pure speculation. There's nothing. They use the word hypothesis, and I know I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. The word hypothesis, right, is the start of an experiment, and then it's usually followed then by the experiment, or in the police's case, it'll be the investigation, and then you have the results of this investigation, and then what you then do is work on the conclusion. So to use the word hypothesis, then where is the investigation, the results, the conclusion? By using the scientific word of hypothesis is wrong, in my opinion, unless they're prepared to give you the full scientific account, because it's wrong. It's a police investigation, basically, isn't it? And the police, from what they're telling us anyway, they don't know anything. She hasn't come. There was no CCTV of Nikki.
None at all. Just that doorbell. Oh, not. It's not a Ring doorbell. It annoys me when they keep reporting it as a Ring doorbell camera. Yeah, it's not.
They didn't even know if it was branded as a Ring. There was a security camera that had some lights attached to it as well. That was mounted above their garage door. Wasn't there? And then
New Brunswick, what word are you tired of hearing? There's loads that I'm tired of hearing in this case.
Hypothesis.
Hippopotamus.
The hippopotamus. Oh, it's honest to God, it's like seeing bloody pink hippos. The way this case goes sometimes, it's just craziness. Yeah. But you expect to, have a little bit. The police have done their investigation, and it is a high-profile case. And I'm getting at, like when you compare this case to what you've got in the States, where they're in the States, they will publicize dash cam footage. They'll show you interviews that have taken place in police stations. They're very, very open about their investigation work. And in this country, we get nothing. We just get told, don't look here. There's nothing to see here. Don't speculate.
Nothing to see. Move it on.
Yeah.
That was
It's just so frustrating. It's like, just say it how it is. Even a cop report was really, really, really hard to follow because they wouldn't use people's full names. It was very jargonistic.
Yeah, it was always a dog walker, a local dog walker come across this, or a local dog walker come across that.
Yeah.
Alfie said, anyone that's been to St Michael's, you cannot clearly see the top field from the kissing gate.
And Jason Rothwell, wasn't a dog walker. He didn't have a dog yet, unless we're calling his friends, his female friend, a dog. He was in with a female friend, and he says that he got a feeling to go out that day at that time, and that's when him and his friends discovered Nicky in the water. Now I know that people have got their own comments about this. I'm just going by what he said on social media about the thing. I think it's odd that Snowdon predicted when she was found. That's another thing that I find weird about all this. So is Snowdon the psychic, the secret psychic?
Oh, but I've heard that he apparently got a phone call.
Some people are saying that he got a phone call. I haven't seen a post from Jason Rothwell to say that he's had a phone call. I can't say I've seen that personally. If anyone's got it, send it me, because I really would love to see. But
he's saying he got a phone call from, I believe, from another psychic or something.
Was that the person he was with then? Maybe when.
No, it was someone else. It was someone else, apparently. Maybe he dreamt it.
He is a strange person. I'll be honest. I in the case, I have approached some people, and I did ask Jason Rothwell to elaborate on some of his public statements, and he just replied to me and said, basically whatever I say stays out in the public domain, because he's sick of repeating himself, so he wouldn't answer me. So I did ask, I did try, and that's
that's what he said to you. I don't talk about this in private, only out in the public domain.
Yeah, because I did attempt to sort of see, like, because obviously we were, from what he said, that he's given a statement, and that would be read out by the coroner. So it sounded like he was expecting it to be read out by the coroner, and then it wasn't. So I thought, well, I'll ask him if he'll tell us what he saw, and that's the response I got.
Yeah, Kenny, cop report was amateur, the first they've ever done. You would think that, wouldn't you? I still can't get over that cop report press release when they was doing that press, and Snowdon was just staring at that other guy.
Oh yeah, because he was like literally just sort of like giving him death stare to say, stop talking, shut up.
Yes, Rothwell saw body in the reeds, but forgot to mention he saw the body floating down the river.
I've seen a post from him to say that this is all publicly on Facebook, that he'd seen the river floating down the river, and he actually
saw the river floating down the river
around or something, didn't he? He said as well.
I think you're getting tired, Jen. You saw the river floating down the river.
Oh, he saw the body floating. You know what I mean? Oh, I am tired. But did he? Oh God! But he said as well earlier on as well, he had to ascertain that it was definitely Nicky, and he used a stick and moved her to turn her so that he could maybe see a face, and he used a stick to poke her with to do that.
And I've also read, I think, from one of his, that he knew it was a female body because he could see the blonde hair. But then Dr. Armour said her hair was caked in mud.
And he said very clean.
Yeah, he said her hair was very, very clean. And
yep. It's all just, I don't know, it's all just, nothing makes sense.
What did you see in the Freedom of Information, Kenny? Sorry, I missed that.
Bridget, weird that the camera crews were told to be there on that day. JR said that he was also told to go there, and Snowdon knew it was that day. Lisa, you surely wouldn't have been able to turn a body in water. I can imagine that being very hard, and it's not easy to get down there either.
Yeah, because where the reeds are, you see, it's like if you step on the reeds, like they're gonna like sink with your body weight, and then you're gonna end up in the river yourself. You've got to be very careful with your footing there. I didn't go down there. I literally just sort of went, sat on the wall, and had to look at the situation, with my own eyes just to see what it looked like there. But I wouldn't have trodden down there. You wouldn't have got me back up again.
Well, Jo made me do it on that very first time, didn't she? And I thought I'd fallen in. Freaked out.
Did you fall in?
No. You imagine if I fell in there?
Oh. It'd be really hard to get out of that by there as well, I think, because of all the reeds, and it's not clear where the riverbank starts and ends because of the reeds.
No, I was shaking like a leaf. It was heard that the cops who got her out said she had not been in the water long.
Yeah, this is it, really, isn't it? None of the police that got her out the water made any comment at all in the whole inquest.
They didn't handle her very well either.
Yeah.
From like what Curtis done, the way they was dragging her body up the bank, it was disgusting.
I don't know if that was actually her or whether or not that was just some of the equipment they were using. There's a bit of dispute going on about that. But again, if somebody had come and spoken at the inquest about that, then it would have been helpful, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
To understand the process as well. And again, the forensics as well. I know that they had a black van there. I know that they put a tent behind the black van. I'm assuming for the forensics to maybe do some initial searches on scene, tests on scene, and then she would have been taken away. The pathologist didn't actually look at Nikki until 2 days after she'd arrived at the facility. So she was left for 2 days before they even looked at her.
As soon as you take her body out of water, it's getting late.
Decomposition.
Yeah, decomposition. It increased, the speed of it just increases so quickly.
So you'd expect really that they would have, in a case like this, I'm sure in Lancashire they don't get many cases as high profile as this. And I think if I was leading that investigation, I'd been like all hands on deck as fast as possible.
Oh yeah, definitely. 23 days to travel less than a mile, but stays out unseen. What are the chances? Slim to none. Yeah, she managed to travel all that way in 23 days. Didn't get snagged on anything.
Yeah, it's just and she's gone over the weir and everything, and there's all these dog walkers and people actually going, around that area quite frequently as well.
Yeah,
that doesn't make sense.
That they were supposed to do when bringing her to land. Where was a tent or body bag or stretcher? We had that. There was like a orange body bag that I assumed that, because obviously you put them in there while they're in the water, and it's got tiny little holes that drains the water away.
I think they have a thing that they inflate underneath as well, and that kind of brings the body up to the surface of the water, so that they can get the bag that they're using out, and then they'll I think they have a stretcher that they put use as well. But I think there's like an inflatable device that gets inflated to help them sort of bring it up out of the water, so they're not. It's not left to the diver's strength, because they're already weighed down a lot, aren't they, with their equipment?
Yeah, Julie, it was Mr. Andrew Edwards. The dentition present match exactly the number of teeth and restorative work done by the charting provided by the dental records that when she was last visited the dental place on the 23rd of January for Nicola Bully. Mr. Edwards confirmed a positive identity based on the match of dental records for Nicola Bully.
Danvers, and the cop report said that she was caught under the tree branches in the water. Yeah, because it looked like there was an overhanging tree, and then there were some reeds. I don't actually think she was actually. I don't think she'd got as far as the reeds.
What, where she was found?
Yeah, I think it was where there was that overhanging tree. From all the pictures I've seen, that seems to be where, i.e. Curtis.
Yeah, it was just, so if you're on the other side of the river looking, like, where Curtis was, and you're looking across, she was on the left-hand side, so she wasn't right inside of the overhanging tree. She was just on the left.
And then Rothwell said
willow tree, no other.
He'd watched her move for unspecified distance.
JR diverted her into the tree when he touched her, he said. Surprised he didn't have little beams coming out of his hand, pulling her in.
Yeah, I think he was all right because he was walking on water when he did it.
But yeah, it's a lot of contradicting stuff in that inquest.
Yeah, there's loads of contradictions, and this is what keeps us going. Really, is the fact that we haven't heard everything.
No.
I'm not saying out and out like it was Penny or it was anyone, because I've got my own theories. It could be a sexually motivated attack, because she does this walk every single day. She's in a routine. People notice routines. There could be something where somebody's been watching her and they're like, I'm going to get her, and then they might have been stood in waiting, and they might have taken it. And the thing is, as long as she ended up in the river at the end, nobody's going to ask any questions. That's all the police wanted, was her for it to be in the river, and then they were right, weren't they? That makes sense.
Yeah, Lisa, I saw it on the TV. Patterdale, she said, it's one of our subscribers. She said MB was with two men near the towpath. Nanny, I thought you had said that before finished typing.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is it. There were people in the area who were identified as acting unusually, hiding their faces, and then the police dismissed them. There's the man in black. As far as I know, he's still unidentified. And he was actually mentioned in the inquest.
Yeah.
There's just so many little loose ends to all this. Not loose ends, like, important points. And then also there's these footsteps in the sand on the other side of the river.
Yeah, why wasn't they picked up, like, investigated more?
Because they weren't made public, were they?
No.
And they just stopped. But like, did they just stop because it turned, the bank that they were on just turned grassy, or did they stop because, or were they returning back to the water again? foot steps don't just stop, do they? People don't vanish into thin air. So what happened to the footsteps? Why are they likely to have stopped? That just doesn't make sense either.
Yeah. 14. Why was the KC appointed to handle the family's affairs related to the case? Was the KC appointed for Shannon Cannon in light of outstanding questions? Why didn't Cartwright ask for an accidental verdict? You could see straight from the word get-go in the inquest that they was pushing for a suicide verdict, but the family didn't want that.
Yeah, you could.
There was no evidence. There was no evidence that she was suicidal.
I will. My hands on heart don't believe that it was suicide. It doesn't make sense that it would be, because she had a blip and she was all right and she was doing well in her job and everything. She seems quite upbeat from what everyone's saying. I think out of all the other ways to do it, why would she do it that way? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And no, I don't. My gut instinct says definitely not. But I am suspicious of people that it could have been a third party, and that theory was just shot down straight away. Oh, it's impossible. No, she couldn't have got out the area. It's impossible to get out the area without going out past the CCTV camera. I've been there. It's not. It's definitely not.
No, definitely not.
Somebody could have taken it underneath the bridges. Because I've been there when the river's been, low in the winter when it's been lowish, and you could actually walk underneath the arches of the bridges. It's all sandy down there. I've got so many different ways that she could get out that field. I've got so many different ways out. It is not impossible at all. Well, you've been there as well. You've seen for yourself as well.
Yeah, there's loads of different ways you can get out. But the skip pool car park, it's like that. When they went there, they was carrying so much more evidence out of that little car park, and they said it was for an abandoned car. And where they was walking to, you would have seen the car on the pictures. So what was they actually doing there? For starters,
I'll see Martin saying, why no DNA check? Yeah, they don't talk about forensics or DNA at all in the inquest at all. It's just like dental records. Did they do a forensic check to see if there was any DNA on her? That it could have been from a sexual predator, for instance. I don't know what checks were performed on her. They haven't said, they haven't been open, they haven't been honest about it, and this is why there's so much speculation, because when the police are not open and honest, you do get speculation. When in America, where they're open and honest and like, here you go, here's like interviews, here's officers' personal camera footage, everything's just out in the open, and they don't get these big speculative cases, do they?
No.
Because
Nanny L
out there and just say, here you go, here it is.
Yeah, if Nicola was found on the day that they expected, according to Snowden, how comes there was no police presence on that weekend and just a lone man found her? True.
Yeah.
Because he's been gloating about that, how they predicted it right. 14. Did the KC offer to help Shannon Cannon's family or Peter Baglin's? No, they didn't. So why in Nicola's case? Out the goodness of their own hearts or they wanted to control the narrative 100%. I believe they do. I believe that they appointed her to basically say, look, you're only going to get suicide or accidental death. And I reckon she was there to convince the family to go for accidental death.
Yeah. Ideally, if they'd left the case open, which they have done in Shannon's case, haven't they? It would just get, there's no shame in doing that, because it just means that the police need to investigate it a little bit more.
Yeah.
But
a lot of things need to be re-looked at.
Yeah. I don't deem this case at all closed anywhere near that, because there's so many questions.
Yvonne always believed that she was concussed on the night of the health check, not drunk. All her symptoms correlated to head injury and a head scan the next day. Yeah.
It could be,
And even they didn't mention it, did they?
Yeah, well, it makes sense, doesn't it? Really, but that's a possibility, because that might be the reason why they've called out urgently for an ambulance, because if it was just she's had too much to drink, we've all been there, with somebody or another, put them to bed, give them a glass of water, they'll sober up in the morning and we'll have a word. But if it's an accident and say they know that something's happened, she's bumped her head, then yeah, calling the ambulance would be the right thing to do.
No, exactly. Yeah.
But maybe, who knows? Who knows? Someone knows.
Oh, they do.
They do.
So,
I believe that.
Shall we do a members live on Wednesday?
Yeah, we can do. Is that good for guys? You guys as well, if you're free on Wednesday. What time should we do it Wednesday? Should we do about 8:30 again?
Yeah, we'll do 8:30 again.
Yeah. I'm thinking because it's a school night, isn't it?
Yeah.
I get told off going, when you go live. Oh, no, that'll be good. Yeah, we can do Wednesday, and then we can sort of go through some more comments on chat and everything. I'm reading them all here, and there's some really, really good points here, and I'm going to go through all the list of questions that we've got on here, and see if we can find answers or add them to the list of questions that I've already started building now.
Yeah. No, definitely we'll get some stuff sorted for Wednesday. I've copied the link if anyone wants to join the members.
Yeah.
Just go for the cheapest one that's there, because
yeah, it's $1.99 if you just go in there and then you just see a list of perks, and it just means that when we do a members only when we can talk a bit more openly about what's been going on in the background and all. It's been a bit of a horrible week, to be fair. God, it takes up so much time, doesn't it? Just dealing with things, not anything to do with Nikki, not anything to do with the channel. It's just a load of crap that occurred as a consequence. But we'll talk about that.
Yeah, Donna, I've just seen your message. Thank you. I'll have a look at that when we're finished.
But if you haven't already, can you subscribe to our channel? It's just so that you get notifications as to when we go live. We do vary our times a little bit. We will be going live a bit more, I think, now as well. We're going to be going over some other cases until we get more information about Nikki as well. But I think, this case has just got so much more to it.
Yeah.
But I think, we might look at little Xylo as well and see how that case is going as well. Because he's, bless his heart, he's still not been found yet, has he?
No, I keep
And,
looking at
and this goes to show that this little boy actually was witnessed going into the water. I think they've even got CCTV coverage of it happening, yet he's still not being found. So they know he's there, but where, because it was so flooded and the river burst its banks, they're having a nightmare of a job with it all. So it's really, my heart goes out to his family. It's the worst thing I can imagine. You have your baby and you turn into a 2-year-old, and then they have a mind of their own, and 1 minute they're there and the next they're not. You just take your eyes off them for a moment, and sadly he's gone, and he's just not known what he's doing, and he's ended up in that water, and my heart breaks for his family. It really does.
Thank you for joining us on a Sunday night. We've been going longer than what I expected tonight. I didn't expect to be going.
I thought, oh yeah, we'll be sort of like a couple of hours and all this, but no. But yeah, we've gone through quite a lot again, haven't we? We've gone through some.
No, we have. But yeah, on the members' live, if any members have got anything they want us to go through, give us a shout and let us know.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, we're happy to sort of go through again and have a look at we've got everything transcribed now, so it's easier for us to look for things. So if you want us to fact check anything at all, let us know. And I hope you're all enjoying your Sunday night and you've had a good weekend. It's been absolutely peeing it down here in like northwest. It's typical.
I think it's quite.
You had it, didn't you? And I was like, no, it's dry here. And just jinxed it all.
I'm really cold now. I'm sat here and I'm like, I've had to get the blanket over me. I'm freezing.
Yeah.
So thank you for joining us tonight, guys. Get to bed. It's Monday tomorrow.
Yeah. Oh, I'll make sure
always makes me cry.
Uniforms.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, I was
but yeah. But thank you all for joining us. There's loads of you in chat. Thank you so much for all your support and being here and just keeping Nikki's case alive as well, because we say, we just want justice for Nikki. We want the case to be ideally reopened and looked at by an impartial investigation, and hopefully some more information relating to the case to be opened up to the public as well, because I think we're owed that, to be honest.
Yeah. No, definitely.
Yeah.
No, definitely.
Yeah. So we will see you on Wednesday, and then we will also do. Don't worry, we're not going to not do publics. We're still going to do publics as we normally do as well.
Yeah, I would say public, like main one on a Friday, Saturday, and we'll do one members live a week.
Yeah.
But yeah. Okay, right. Well, good night, everyone. I hope you have a lovely Monday.
And if you get any questions in the meantime, after the live, just pop them in the comments and we'll pick them up. We do check our comments on every video. We check them regularly as well. So, but if you want to join us on Wednesday for our first members, you're welcome. And we'll see you there.
All right, see you Wednesday. Good night, guys. Take care.
Good night, everyone. Thanks again. Thank you.